Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Utah Jazz playing last night in Las Vegas Summer League. So many turnovers. So many turnovers. They end up losing to the Sacramento Kings, like 25 turnovers. Doomed them. They got down by 26. It was not a great night. There were a few moments. Cody Williams threw an unbelievable left-handed pass. Filipowski looked a little more comfortable later in the game, but, man, we're really reaching here. It was basically, for half the game, if Collier could drive, they got something. If not, they turned it over. It was a rough one. We'll have more on that coming up later this morning. Right now, I want to go to the Mountain West Conference Media Days. We've had a lot of BYU and Utah content. Bronco Mendenhall is now at the University of New Mexico. He was there as a defensive coordinator before he was hired away to BYU. He's back now as the Lobos head coach in the Mountain West. Here is Bronco talking about the job in front of him at New Mexico.
Well, I'll tell you what, who's also making his return. It is Bronco Mendenhall to the college football world. I had a chance to chat with him. Coach, there were a lot of jobs out there that I thought, you know what, this might be a Bronco job. This might be a Bronco job. I didn't have New Mexico on my bingo board for you. What was it about Albuquerque that said this is where I want to get back into it?
Yeah, it wasn't on my bingo board either. And hard to describe what happened to end up leading Holly and I to New Mexico. I think ultimately the chance to make a difference at a place where difference and change is needed was pretty compelling. I love developing young people for sure. I love the impact and influence. But I also, on a broader scale, organizational change and I would say igniting and having a football program maybe the catalyst to a more vibrant community. And again, scale and impact and change being able to happen maybe at that level in addition to the player level. Plus I like challenge. And so all of those things kind of came together to maybe have the bingo board arrive, where it wasn't really on my radar either to start.
You I'm sure you have a much better memory than I, but I remember covering a game in I think it was 2005, where it's your first year at BYU, and I believe you're at Albuquerque, and you guys are up against it, and yet you score two late touchdowns and come back and win that game and really turn that season around. I mean, I think one of your signature moments at BYU did come at Albuquerque.
It did. I remember that exact game. I remember Matt Allen scoring in the corner of the end zone. We were running out of time, and it was pivotal at that point for the program at BYU. And New Mexico at that time was a tough place to play. The team was a good team. And all the work we had done previously to build it to that, it was a formidable place to play. I hold that in my memory as what it can be like again in Albuquerque. The type of teams that are there, the type of support that's there, it's drifted significantly from that. And so the deficit is huge, but that means the impact can be large as well. And so I remember the celebration in that locker room, and I remember the game for sure.
The first steps of getting the community back, obviously winning's number one, but what are things you can do to get that ravenous community back on your side and filling up that stadium again?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to say there are more things, which there are, right? Sharing the vision, which I just call vision creation, which captures hearts and minds around it. The listening and the speaking and the presenting and the different exposures all through the community. I've been doing so much of that. That has to be backed up pretty early on with some success to lead and to show tangible results that tie to the story. And so it's tricky because the messaging is on point. Again, I've been a head coach 17 years, and 16 of those have been postseason qualified teams. And so the community knows, wait, this is possible. It's probably more than possible. It's likely that this is going to work. But yet, there's been a disconnect for success in New Mexico football for a long time. And so there's that bridge of enough success with the messaging and the track record that all has to come together. Could it happen without immediate success on the field? Yeah, it's just going to take longer. And so that really becomes the issue, is not if this is going to happen, it's when. and how long.
You know, the landscape of college athletics is just upside down, and it's gotten crazy with collectives, NILs, everything that went along with it. It would have been really easy to stay on the ranch, do the podcast with Matt, and just chill out and not be knee-deep in all this craziness. What has that been like coming into this new world of where players are being compensated and everything else that goes along with it?
I think, though, I was asked earlier today, that's been the biggest change in what the job is like now. I've probably done more financial work in the short time I've been at UNM than both at BYU and UVA combined. And so finance is now right in the middle of college athletics. And quite frankly, without it, you're going to have a very difficult time succeeding, not only in attracting players, but retaining players. And that has to be on a consistent basis versus whatever those demands look like going forward, which we don't know yet. That is a completely different part of the job than it's ever been in place before. And so you add that to the transient nature of players with NIL, and I would say coaches, with 7 new coaches in the Mountain West this year. The schedules that college football coaches have, this isn't looking for sympathy, but they're much different. The work and the time was significant before. When you now add the financial strains also, it's a different job. And so the NFL is looking more appealing to many college coaches. College coaches that have been head coaches for a long time are now seeing this as a good exit point. I chose to come back into in this context and environment. The name, image, and likeness is a component. The transfer portal effect is something different, and they're tied together. I've never seen as much tampering and offering of players on existing teams money, especially now from Power 5 schools to Group of 5 schools. Our roster alone, we've turned over 60 players since I've arrived. 43 scholarship players. This is in about a 6-month period. 17 alone since the end of spring practice. So the idea now that next year's roster at New Mexico will look like this one, it's much more, there's a AAA baseball team that plays across the street, the Isotopes. Really, Group of 5 football and maybe Power 5 football looks a lot more like minor league baseball rosters, where the players change so frequently. What will this year's roster look like, where you don't really have a chance to as much track a freshman as they come in and they redshirt, and then 5 years later they've graduated and you followed their whole career at your institution. Unfortunately, I think those days are gone. And that's for someone that loves the development of a young person and the development of a program. This is really almost iterations of one-year teams put together over and over again with a roster in flux, with finance driving primarily whether players stay or go. And if you're able to get deep enough with your team as a leader and have enough consistency, then possibly the principles and the relationship will hold them longer, within reason to what price they're being offered. And so the dynamic is really different. And yeah.
It's just, I mean, as a coach, I can't imagine the frustration of, wanting to develop and putting the resources into the recruiting development and then lose a kid after a year or two. And I just, and you want to be happy for the kid for, being able to set up his family a little bit, but also it's like, it just, I don't know, it's hard wrapping your brain around it and feeling like this is good for college athletics.
It is hard, and I've wrestled with it as well, and where I've kind of come to, again, I'm talking Group of 5 football now, and I'm talking Mountain West Conference. I'm seeing now the time that I have with each player, how much can I help, how many principles can I teach, how much tactical and technical improvement can we instill, and when and if they do move, really work hard to celebrate that as progress. Then knowing the time frame I'm having to work with each player now isn't 5 years, sometimes it's 1.
Yeah.
But could that 1 make a difference? So I'm just having to reframe the context, knowing that when coaches leave for more money or a higher level, which coaches have done forever and I've done in my career, players are doing the same. And so really the preparation model is just shortened but the intent, at least that I have, is the same, and that's the closest way I can make sense of it for now.
I'd be remiss. It's good to see some of these guys back on your staff. Love seeing Jan and those guys and those guys getting great opportunities with you.
It's really fun to not only be developing young players, but my staff. I have 14 former players of mine on my staff. I love the development of young professionals also. It's really fun.
There is Bronco Mendenhall. We're going to take a break. When we come back, basketball with Steve Cleveland, BYU, trying to take what looks like a lot of talent, but coming from a lot of different places and blend it into a team. We'll talk with Steve about that next. Stay with us. DJ and PK brought to you in part by America First Credit Union. Get the official debit cards of the Utah Jazz, University of Utah Sports, Real Salt Lake, and more exclusively at America First Credit Union. We are joined now by Steve Cleveland. Heard it through the grapevine, Steve. There's a lot of talent at BYU basketball, and it comes from all over the globe. 5 different countries. Half the team is new. The coaching staff is new. It's awesome to be talented. Anybody who's had a team that wasn't talented knows that. But the talent's all got to come together. How's that going to work?
Well, you do have a lot of pieces to put together. I haven't been over to watch practice yet, and I'm hoping to do that sooner than later here. But I looked at it the other day. I was just kind of looking at the roster, and really there's 11 guys that could actually play in a game, and I mean, that have reputations. And I started thinking that, they've got a couple of freshmen, a couple of walk-ons, and so forth. But everybody here had to have been told that, hey, there's going to be an opportunity to play. And I've never seen anybody really play 10 people in a collegiate game consistently. So we know that's probably not going to happen. There's going to be injuries and other things. But literally, I'm looking at this, and there's 10 guys that they've brought in that you would think could play. I can go through all the names. We probably don't need to do that. But at the end of the day, they have great depth. They have a good combination of young players. I think they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 7 freshmen and 6 or 7 freshmen. So, we know the thing. When people talk to me about this group, and I'm just saying, obviously the 2 foreign kids that played in the EuroLeague and they've had a lot of competition and reps and so forth. So we got to look at these guys as they're different freshmen, and they're only going to probably be here a year anyway. But I just see typically it takes younger players a while to develop. The good news is there's enough depth here that they can wait and take their time. But it's quite a task to figure out who's going to play. They've been practicing. I've heard good things. There seems to be great energy, and everybody seems pretty connected. So it is you mentioned it, and putting this roster together and then making sure that everybody is happy, and you come here whether you're coming over from Europe or you're coming from as a transfer, when will there opportunities be? But there are definitely 10 people there that can play, and how that plays out, we'll just have to wait and see. You got new coaches, you got new players. There's always going to be a transition. But at the end of the day, that's a good problem to have.
This is something that you did almost on a yearly basis as a junior college coach, because rosters turn over literally every year. So how did you implement some type of team unity on the floor?
One of the things is that we were in a rebuilding mode, and I think pretty much everybody understood that. And so when we did bring in junior college guys, it was difficult because there's 2 or 3 young men in the program. We're not going to mention any names, but it was really difficult for us to make some changes and not necessarily take away a scholarship, but just knowing that there wasn't going to be an opportunity for playing time. And typically those people left and transferred. But it's never a great thing. It's not fun to go through that process, especially when you've been involved in a lot of the young men that we coaching were on the roster when we first got there. We had not recruited any of them, and we knew that we had to get better. We needed more depth, and you can say what you want, but those are difficult things for coaches and for parents and players when you have to make those changes. It'll be interesting to see the dynamics of this and how it plays out. And, a year from now, how many of these guys are still here? And, and it seems to me with this coaching staff, there's kind of a treasure chest of guys in Europe and different places that they're going to go and find guys. But looking at this roster and looking at what I did were kind of two different things. But it was a difficult process, especially when it didn't work out and players, thought they were going to be playing, and you bring new guys in, and the only way you can get better, it was hard. It was hard, but it was just something that had to happen. We couldn't just stay where we were, or we wouldn't have got to the point where we could turn it around and get to tournaments and win some championships. But there's a price to pay for everyone. And I think as a head coach, that was one of the most difficult times in my coaching life, was the first couple of years where we basically asked other players to give up a scholarship or to transfer, and that we were going to go a new direction. But, it seems like it's an easy thing to do, but it's for a coach, especially the head coaches, it was challenging, to be honest with you, at the first couple of years. And I think we made the right decision and got the right people here and got everybody on the bus and together, and we were able to have some success. But during that process, it was tough.
Do you think it'll be easier for guys if they, and this is probably just trying to find some stupid silver lining that doesn't exist, but when so many guys are focused on getting better to get to the next level, as long as they're developing, most of that doesn't happen in games. That's where you show it off. As long as they're developing and they feel like they're getting better, can they roll with stuff, or everybody thinks they're one and done and you got to play, and so it's going to be a problem?
No, you know what? I think that's a really good point, because not just BYU, but certainly Coach Young and a lot of the things I've heard him say is about developing and get to the next level. Okay, and that is a goal. It may not be a realistic goal for some of these young men, even though that's what the mantra is. We're going to get you to the next level. The next level could be playing in Egypt. It could be playing in Australia. It could be playing in Europe. And I don't know that there's a lot of lottery. I mean, we know that the two young freshmen from Europe are guys that apparently are going to be probably draft picks and high draft picks, possibly even. So that makes sense. But for everybody else, I think it's like next level where I can get paid. I can maybe make $200,000 or $300,000 a year playing, in like I said, Australia, or playing in France, or playing in Spain. And there's so many leagues. We had a lot of guys at BYU that played in Europe and played for 8, 10, 12, 13 years and really set themselves up for life. And because a lot of that money is not taxable coming from there, and there's a lot of different intricacies of all that. But I do know that the NBA is everybody's dream, but there's a great living to be made in Europe, in Australia, but Europe especially, where they're paying guys $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. You spend 10 years there, you save your money, invest properly, you're kind of set to go for a larger part, greater part of your life. So it's next level. It's developing. I think every coach is doing that. I don't think it's just at BYU. That's the sales pitch for everyone. And in the Big 12, there's a lot of good players, and there'll be a lot of those players will be playing in Europe, or a few of them will be playing in the NBA. But that is what is being talked about, not just BYU. I mean, everywhere. Even when I was coaching, we were talking about getting to the next level. Well, initially for us, getting to the next level was having a competitive team, win championships, and then all of a sudden, we had guys that got drafted. We had guys that went to Europe, and guys that I recruited and didn't even coach a great deal because I went to Fresno. Most of those guys played for 8 or 10 years and set themselves up. Some of them were married, some of them were single, but so that's what you're going to do. You're always going to do that as a coach, and that's and I think Kevin Young has really made it really clear. I mean, he's got, I think 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 7 or 8. He's got 7 coaches, and all of them have for the most part, most of them will have that niche of working guys out and getting them better through development, and then that mantra is something that becomes important in the program. This is what we do. It's a great recruiting tool, but it's one that this is not BYU doing this. It is being done throughout the country. Top 25 teams, they're the top 50 teams. They're doing the same things and letting them know that you're here, you get a chance to play, get better, and go play in the league. And that's kind of what's happening in the world today.
There isn't such a thing as too much talent, is there? That's like too much money.
Probably not. But when you have moments like that where you have too much talent, guys now just transfer. And with a portal, it's a perfect situation, because I'm telling you that this roster won't be the same a year from now. Okay, you'll have guys leave, you'll have guys transfer as they see that they're not going to be playing. But the cool thing for them and for all of young men and young women in the country playing collegiate basketball is you make a phone call, you get in the portal, you drop out, and next thing you know, you got a place. And I'm waiting to see who is going to be the first person to play on 4 different teams in 4 years. I don't think that's happened yet, but it may have. But I think that allows these players. It's not nearly as painful when you jump right into the portal. It's not personal. It's not parents being unhappy or family being unhappy about how you treated my son. It's like, hey, it's not going to work. That's fine. We'll just jump into the portal. And so it's not as difficult as it used to be, and probably as toxic as it used to be when parents and family and support were upset because you didn't keep your promises of doing this. Well, they can always say, and it's not just, again, BYU, but, hey, we spent a lot of time in skill development, helping him to get to the next level, and he's just not quite there yet. He's not going to have the playing time he wants. He jumps and goes. And so I think it's positive either way. You can come someplace and realize after 6 months, man, this is not going to work for me. I'm not playing, and da-da-da-da-da. And now you've got a quick escape route and another new opportunity to jump in and be with a new team and continue developing your skills. So hope that someday you do get to the next level and can play for money.
The late Bill Walton used to use the phrase, expand your mind. Four teams in 4 years. Come on, how about 5 schools in 5 years? Let's expand our minds, Steve. Anything is possible.
I didn't even think about that this year. But we're going to watch and see this just right in front of our eyes. It's going to unfold, and we're going to see the things that we've been talking about in previous months and moving forward. And it's not as dramatic as it used to be for anybody. I mean, I can remember dealing with parents at times, even in junior college, high school, when someone's not happy. Well, it's so difficult these days. Now, I know in Utah, they can transfer now. From everything I've been told, you can play in a school 1 year and transfer to that school the next and not have to sit out. In California, you always had to sit out a year, regardless of whether you change residence or not. I don't know what that looks like in California today, but I know I've watched the high school situation. I have grandsons who are playing in the middle school and the high school, and it's kind of a free market there as well. So I don't know. I don't want to say something that's not true, but I do know that people are transferring, they're not moving, and they're playing in a new school. And I think the new rules in Utah allow that. If I'm not correct on that, you guys can correct me later, but that's what's happening in Utah County because I'm seeing it. And it's simple as that. So it's now happening at all levels, and which makes it a little softer landing for the next place you go.
You think it's dangerous, or how dangerous is it to get in the one-and-done cycle?
If you're talking about 1 or 2 guys, I don't think it really matters. And it seems that there's enough connections here where that can happen. And that doesn't happen for everyone. You got to be connected. And I think one of the things about Coach Young is he and a number of members of his staff have worked overseas, have worked in the NBA. And so they do have contacts. So that is an advantage. But, bringing in 3 or 4 one-and-done guys, that's going to be more difficult. The transition is going to be more difficult. It's going to be more challenging for the coaches trying to keep people happy. And what you're doing now, going forward, and don't think for a moment that getting one-and-done guys can help your program. There's no question. But over time, you do that, and you kind of know that as people are looking down the road, and it's a mom and dad and family, and they're trying to figure out where they want to go, and they're just going to bring in new players next year, and then my son won't be able to play, or my daughter won't be able to play, whatever the circumstances are. That could be a challenge, but I think if you're talking about one or two of them each year, if that's what happens, we don't know that's going to happen, but if it does, you remember, though, there are guys in that program that are freshmen and sophomores and juniors, and when you bring those guys in, you're definitely going to be in a position to win championships and take your program to the next level. But it's not going to come without some angst and some issues with parents and young men and young women who do not have an opportunity like they thought they were going to have.
I don't know how much you watch Brandon Carlson up at the U, but I've always been a fan of his game. And watching him a little bit in the summer league, blocking shots, moves well. He's with Toronto. I think he's got a shot. What's your evaluation?
Man, I really, really liked him. I ended up going to 3 Utah games up there and watched him play against top teams. And I mean, I loved him. I mean, he's bouncy, he's athletic, he can shoot it. And I think that he's a guy that they put on some weight, they get him stronger, that he could play in the league a long time. I mean, I've watched a lot of college basketball, and I'm not sure that I would, watching him playing 2 or 3 times, I could tell you what his strengths and weaknesses are. But in every game that I went to, he played well. He had 18 or 20. There were a couple of games. There was one game he really shot the 3 ball well, and a couple others where he didn't. But I think he has the ability to shoot the 3. I love him. I think there's a place for him. I mean, maybe he's not strong enough right now and has the body type. But when you have, I think they've got about 17 people on a roster now, something of that nature. Man, I'm keeping that guy. I really like him. I just felt like he was made right plays, and he had a great attitude. I never saw an attitude. And I know 3 games is probably not enough to evaluate somebody, but I know one of the games was Arizona, one of them was BYU, and someone else. But in all those games, he played well.
I know there's 1,000 things to look at, and that's why you got to see more than 3 games. But if you have some size, if you can move a little bit, and if you can shoot it, then the scouts are coming back for a 4th game. Steve Cleveland's retired. He may not be coming back for a 4th game, but the scouts are coming back for a 4th game. It seems like it's a pretty simple equation, at least at the start of the evaluation process. You have those 3 things, you're in at some level.
Well, yeah, especially when you got tons of film. Okay, so you got a plethora of film from the last 2 years that they're watching all the games, they're seeing his development, they're seeing what's happening. Then you go watch him play in person. And in those games that I went to were all big-time games, and so there's always scouts there from the pros that are watching games. And so you take the film, you take watching the games in person, then if, I don't know if he got brought in and went through the process and got interviewed in the draft combine, or if that even happened. I hadn't followed him, but they're pretty diligent, these NBA guys and coaches and scouts, about finding out everything. And they talk to. I remember when I had 8 or 10 Division I type guys that to play at the next level, and it was like they'd come in and sit down, and they want to know every little thing about the player, from the intangibles, and what he was like off the court, and how was he as a teammate. What kind of work ethic did he have? Was he coachable? All those things. So they're pretty thorough and taking a look at all things in terms of the draft. But I just can't think of a reason why you wouldn't take a chance on him and put him into the program for 2 or 3 years. I mean, you got 17 guys. So if we can bring 17 people in, I'm thinking that a year or two from now, this young man will be able to play in the league. And if he can't, then he'll go over and play at the highest Euro League and be successful there as well. But I hope that he's given a chance, because I just feel like he's got an upside that, his body needs to be stronger and bigger for the league and stuff. But he's so bouncy and so athletic that he puts a little girth on him. I think he can play in the league.
Steve, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, guys. Take care.
There's Steve Cleveland. A reminder, catch 30 Seconds to Mars on the season's World Tour 2024 with special guest AFI as they make a stop at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on July 30th. Get your tickets now at livenation.com or listen to The Zone all day on Tuesday, July 23rd for your chance to win. Coming up next, Jay Drew talking Cougar football and Big 12 Media Days. Stay with us. DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined by Jay Drew, Deseret News beat writer for the BYU Cougars. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Jay, you're going to put the golf clubs away and go cover football on a regular basis. Are you mentally prepared for the changing of the seasons?
I got a couple more weeks left, so I'm trying to get there, but every year it seems to get a little harder and harder, but that's my life.
When's camp start? Did they give you a date yet?
I don't think they've said anything official. I've heard somewhere around August 31st, whatever
July.
that Wednesday is, or July 31st, yeah, whatever. I think it's going to start on a Wednesday.
Yeah, well, this camp has an opportunity to be interesting because there's a quarterback battle, and that's always something that entertains us to see what happens. I certainly think it'll be Retzlaff, but I don't know how many games he's going to start. What have you been hearing about Bohannon being able to rehab himself to be able to compete at the level he wants to, which is not something that happened in the spring practices?
Yeah, from everything I've heard, Bohannon is finally healthy. He can make kind of all the throws that he's been asked to throw. That wasn't the case in the spring. They tried to kind of tell us it was, but there was kind of a chat with Gary right at the final spring practice, and he pretty much admitted that he couldn't do everything that they wanted him to do. But at the golf appreciation media day they had, Aaron Roderick said that Gary finally could make all the throws, and he had 100% of his arm strength back. So going off of that, I think he'll be ready in 2 weeks to do that.
Do you think any of the other quarterbacks are close, or is it going to be those two?
I have the sneaking hunch or suspicion that they're opening it up just a little bit more than they were kind of letting on in the spring. And I think the reason is obviously they got McKay Hillstead from Utah State, and they got this Trayson Bourget from Western Michigan, who's from all accounts has had a really good spring and has also been impressive in some of these player-in practices. So I think it'll be a little bit more open than maybe it was coming right out of spring. But that's really difficult to manage. 4 guys, if you're trying to get first-team reps to 4 guys, that's not optimal by any stretch. But so I like Pat said, I think Jake Retzlaff is kind of the front runner right now, but I think we'll see, the other 3 get at least a few first team reps, maybe that first week or 2, just to make sure they're moving in they're on the right path as far as identifying Retzlaff as the guy.
I know A-Rod wants to utilize the quarterback run game more than he did last year, and even with Jaron Hall, because they had to protect those guys. They didn't have a whole lot. Now all of a sudden they've got a bunch of guys that maybe be able to turn to. What type of athleticism do you think Retzlaff has to be able to use his feet effectively in the offense?
I think he's a really good athlete. I think he showed flashes of that last year in the 4 games that he started. I don't think he's as good of an athlete as like Jaron Hall, like you said, or maybe even Zach Wilson. But I think he's got a good baseball background. He does have the kind of the unusual throwing motion, throws a lot of sidearm balls. Yeah, I think he's a decent athlete, and I think Bohannon's a good athlete too, and has that escapability factor. I think with Retzlaff, what they really need to work on is kind of his pocket presence and knowing when to take off and knowing when to, to hang in the pocket a little bit longer or look for an open receiver. So I think that's really important this year because they really got to rely on their other guys, on their weapons. They've got a really good, deep receiving core and that they need to use. They're a little thin at running back, and so I don't know if you can qualify them as weapons that can be used a lot. But I think all pretty much all four of these quarterbacks that we've talked about are pretty good athletes and can run the ball if needed.
Do you believe that the continuity, the number of guys they have returning is really going to pay dividends? I mean, it's much sexier to have someone come in from the transfer portal and they scored 20 touchdowns. But do you think they get that kind of productivity and eliminate mistakes? Because mistakes cost them the Oklahoma and Kansas games last year.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I think the consistency, the continuity will really help a lot. I'm on record. I still think they should have brought in a running back, as they've done in the past few years with Aiden Robbins, and before that, I forgot his name from Cal, Brooks, Christopher Brooks. So, and even before that, Tyson. I'm so bad.
Williams.
Yeah, Williams, right. But so I've said all along, I think they needed another big time running back out of the transfer portal. But other than that, I think, and of course they got Bohannon out of the portal and McKay Hillstead as well. But I think they're counting on this chemistry, continuity, whatever you want to call it, to carry the day, and especially on offense. And we'll see what happens, but as years past has shown us, BYU goes through running backs. They get guys injured, and there's already rumors that maybe a running back this year is not going to be able to start the first couple of good games. So, that's where I kind of stand on that.
A lot of hype around this position coach, TJ Woods, along the offensive line. Makes me wonder how much can a position coach make a difference as opposed to the players who need to be able to do the job?
Yeah, I think you need talent, and I think cohesion is kind of, from the offensive linemen that I've talked to, like Braden Keim and Connor Pay down in Vegas. They talk a lot about just playing together and getting those reps under their belt as a unit. And Waylon Lapuaho is also back, and I think you'll see a lot better play out of Caleb Etienne, the Oklahoma State transfer. I don't know. When Jeff Grimes came a few years ago, I noticed that he had a pretty good impact. So maybe there is something to that, and that TJ Woods can kind of be that X factor that gets that unit playing better. But I think the bigger thing is just those guys more cohesion, having played together, kind of knowing what they're going to do. And I think it'll help if last year going into spring or fall camp, we didn't know who would be the starting center, or whether it would be Paul Miley or Connor Pay. And I think they made a mistake, and they kind of not really solidifying who that would be. That's a really important position on the offensive line. And I think it caused a little bit of a setback with their uncertainty there before they settled on Pay. So I think all those factors together, that we should see a little bit of improvement from the offensive line.
What'd you learn at Big 12 Media Days, or did it just reinforce everything you already knew?
Yeah, it pretty much reinforced everything I already knew. I kind of wrote a little bit about this. There seems to be more of a, I don't know if you want to call it a chip on their shoulder, or just, I think I used the word that Kalani was a little bit defiant. Some people took umbrage with that, but that's just how I saw it. It just seemed like they had more of a quiet confidence that they weren't going to really talk about, how good they were going to be. They were just going to basically say, hey, we're going to go out and prove it, and talk is cheap, kind of that sort of thing. And in years past, it just seems like they've been a little bit more, I don't know if you'd say sure of themselves, at least outwardly, publicly. So that's one thing that stood out. The other thing is I think, like you said, they're really banking on this whole – they didn't hit the transfer portal. They're banking on this continuity, and that guys will be much better in Jay Hill's second year learning the system. They'll be much better on offense because, like you said last year, they'll eliminate some of the mistakes and rely on, these returning starters, these guys that have been there like Chase Roberts and Darius Lassiter and Keelan Marion and all these other receivers they got to and along the offensive line to just carry that late game momentum. Even though there were 2 losses last year to end the season, I think that really gave them a shot in the arm that they could, if they could play a little bit more mistake-free, that they could compete on a week-to-week basis in the Big 12. I think that those last 2 games gave them a little bit of hope.
SMU early, I'm really intrigued by that game. They win that game, and I think their path to 6 wins gets a lot easier. They lose that game, and I think it's going to be very difficult. How about that? Yeah,
that's really interesting. And then, the Wyoming game in week 3 isn't going to be a cakewalk either. But they lose, like you said, that SMU game, and that's a tough game. SMU's a good team, and BYU squeaked by them in a bowl game a few years ago. But obviously this game's on SMU's home field, and they're in the ACC now, and so I think it's going to be a really difficult road to overcome if they don't go 3-0 in the preseason or in the non-conference games, and 2 of those are on the road. So it's I know a lot of media members talked to Tom Homo about why that had to happen, and he gave a pretty good explanation of just when it's pretty hard to go out and find in 2 years' time non-conference opponents, especially those that'll come to your stadium. So that's kind of where they're at with that as far as that goes. But it's definitely, it's going to be tough if they can't go 3-0 in the non-conference. I don't see them making a bowl game. I think it's going to be kind of a make or break type of scenario there.
Teams that were voted / perceived as the bottom third of the league were rewarded with schedule is very heavy with teams that are perceived as the top third of the league, and those teams were given pretty soft schedules, presumably trying to bolster the spot at multiple teams to maybe 3 getting into the playoff. Was everybody okay with that? Was there grumbling over that? People just ready to, it's a 16-team league, it's weird, and they're trying to make money and increase their profiles. People just live with it?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't hear a lot of grumbling. I think I did ask Kalani about the lack of divisions, basically the theory that you take the 2 best teams to the championship game rather than, being caught with the chance of leaving one of the 2 best teams home that day. But I didn't hear a lot of complaining. I just think, and I think if you look at the history of the Big 12, where, let's face it, some of these predictions haven't been really that good. A few years ago, I think Baylor was even picked number 1, and they just, were horrible. And I don't even think they finished with a winning record. So it's just really difficult to predict. And I think coaches, especially the ones that have been in the league a long time, like Mike Gundy, basically say, hey, the preseason predictions are never really right. No one really knows what's going to happen. So it's just, you just kind of play it as it lies, so to speak, to use a golf term.
Is this going to be the first Final Four in basketball that you'll cover?
Oh boy, I don't know, man. Height is off the charts. It's crazy. I'm just going to say I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, it looks really good on paper. I mean, what Kevin Young has done and the talent he's assembled is pretty impressive. I mean, you got to hand it to him, but you got to win the games. You got to. You can't win championships in July or June or whenever. So it's definitely off to a great start, but we will see. I think I'm going to kind of hold back or reserve judgment until a couple months into the season to see if this whole experiment, and it's kind of a grand experiment to see if you can literally do this at BYU. It'll be really intriguing and fun to watch.
You staying with the coaches who say get old, stay old? Because there's a lot of potential on this team, but there's also a lot of young guys on this team.
Yeah, I think it was really key that they were able to retain kind of that core of Foose and Dallin Hall and Richie Saunders, Trevin Nell. I think they've got kind of a good nucleus of guys coming back that kind of know the culture and know all that, and it'll be a tough to get all these guys to gel together. And I wrote a thing the other day about you can only play 5 guys at one time, and there's only one basketball, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can juggle the minutes and keep guys happy and all that sort of thing. Because I mean, I guarantee you, there's at least 12 guys on that roster who believe they should be the starter, and they've had the talent to be the starter. So it's going to be really fun to watch how he juggles all those minutes and keeps guys happy.
Jay Drew, grab those golf clubs and run for the door right now while there's time.
Going to try to get out tomorrow to the Women's Am Media Day out at Talon's Cove, but my golf game's just gone in the tank. I'm horrible. I'm struggling to even break 90, so we'll see.
All right,
might be good for me to put up the clubs for a little while. That's what I'm hinting at.
All right, thanks, Jay. We appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having me on.
There's Jay Drew. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Joel Embiid is clearly having a bit of a struggle with the pace of the FIBA game. Is there any thought at possibly rotating him with Anthony Davis or Bam Adebayo right now?
These next few games, I'm going to continue to experiment with the lineups, and Joel is getting better and better every day. It usually takes big guys a little bit longer to get rhythm and flow, but I love Joel. He's a dominant player, and I think it's going to be important for us to figure out the best combinations and putting the right people together.
Steve Kerr asked if he will bench Joel Embiid. The United States beating Australia 98-92 in an Olympic tune-up game. U.S. was up by 24 in the third quarter. Lead got cut to 6 in the fourth. It got tense, PK.
It did, huh? Yeah, I'm just happy that they added Derek White to the roster.
Because?
We finally got a white guy on the team.
See, there it is. Wordplay.
I thought you were going to say something about Jaylen Brown and him claiming that his Nike criticism has cost him his spot.
No. The latest with Jaylen Brown, he said Bronny's not a pro. They caught him reading lips. Somebody read his lips to his, is it his wife or just his girlfriend?
His significant other.
Yeah, I don't like that term. Let's narrow it down. It's like you don't say something is 4/8 of something. You get it down to the lowest common denominator. That's what I was taught. You say it's a half.
Hey, I'm 6/12 of the way to my goal. Leave me alone.
Right. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Know what you're saying. Anthony
Davis led the way, 17 points, 14 boards. Devin Booker, your truth-telling Phoenix Sun. Performances like this will not get us the gold medal. So the gauntlet has been thrown down.
Well, you've got to be crusty right now. I mean, you can't be fat and happy. You gotta win this thing. When's it start?
Opening ceremony on the 26th.
No, when's the basketball start? I
think it runs the whole thing.
The whole thing?
Yeah, it goes.
Well, when's the whole thing? That don't tell me nothing. Oh, it runs the whole thing. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
I think what he just said about the 26th.
So they play on the 26th? Is that July or August?
July. It starts in July and ends in August.
Because I'll hopefully be able to watch. I want to watch.
It runs the 27th through August 10th.
Yeah. I'll be paying attention. I didn't pay attention to the exhibition game. I don't know what draw on that. But when they start to count, and they pool play it, right, and all that stuff, and yeah, I'll be interested in it for sure.
Clippers president of basketball operations Lawrence Frank said the team was very disappointed with USA Basketball's decision to replace Kawhi Leonard on the Olympic roster last week. He added the decision belonged to USA Basketball, and he wished they'd given Kawhi more time to participate. You buy any of that, or is that just a Clipper executive trying to back up his guy because they know their star player's disappointed and they lost their other star player to Philly, and Harden may want out at any minute, so let's just keep everything.
That's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, well, Clipper's going to clip. Let's get Larry the Laker on to say that.
I don't know, man. That's not anything I really care about.
The 18 turnovers in the USA game, that got you ready for the Utah Jazz Summer League game. It's about 25 turnovers or so in that. That was a turnover-a-thon there. And they lose to Sacramento 82-70.
And I watched a good portion of that. And the home run derby was winding down. I've got no problem with that, man. Now's the time. If you're expecting perfect play out of teenagers, you're crazy. I thought collectively the three guys was the best that I've seen them.
Collier, Williams, and Filipowski?
Yes. No, three other dudes. I thought Filipowski was far more aggressive, just wasn't looking to be the old school European three-point shooter. Was using his height to his advantage and his size.
Go get a putback jam.
And Collier, make all the turnovers you want. I mean, we're not looking for him to be a star this year, are we? That would be ridiculous. But use your body. Carlissimo was talking about his body and his strength. And Cody Williams continues to show elite athleticism. They sucked as a team. I get that. If you're into that, then you can draw conclusions based on that. But I like
guys had
collectively the way
guys had moments.
Multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, not speaking individually, I'm talking about all three of them. There's something there. I can see why they took all three of them when they took them.
Knicks owner James Dolan leveled continued criticism of the NBA's revenue-sharing policies in a letter outlining a denunciation of a possible 8% league office cut for the new $74.6 billion media deal. Says the national TV and streaming package renders the league regional sports networks as unviable. Quote, the NBA's made a move to an NFL model de-emphasizing and depowering the local market. Soon your only revenue concern will be sale of tickets and what color next year's jersey will be. Don't worry, because due to revenue pooling, you're guaranteed to neither be a success nor a failure. Of course, to get there, the league must take down the successful franchises and redistribute to the less successful.
Are they Robin Hood?
Basically, yes. And he's not happy because he's got a rich team in New York.
Well, they're successful right now. And they're in New York, so they charge outrageous prices compared to everybody else, blah, blah, blah. I bleed for the guy.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
For people to sit here and try to discredit Tua and say, he's not deserving of a contract is wild to me, man. Because a lot of guys on the team understands his value and understands, that we need him. We need his leadership. We need, his mindset. Like the mindset that he brings into each and every week is there. It's like Terminator almost, man. So I feel like he should be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league.
Tua Tagovailoa is the Terminator, according to Tyreek Hill, stumping for his quarterback to get a big-time deal.
Well, I'm just glad he's not doing something else, speaking of Tyreek Hill.
Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins going to play on a franchise tag tender after the deadline for him and the team to reach an agreement expired. He'll make $21.8 million. He was the only player who was franchise tagged this offseason who did not reach a new multi-year deal.
According to the Daily Hill, or the Daily Mail, I should say, which I guess is Tyreek is the Daily Hill when you think about it. He's fathered kids with 3 different women in the space of 4 months, none with his wife. What do you think about that?
That's not a good trend right there.
Well, if you want to father a lot of kids, I guess it is.
Yeah.
How many have you fathered in a given year?
Maximum of 1. A lot of years, 0.
Hey, every year of my life, 0.
Bears rookie Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze remain unsigned as training camp approaches. Williams doesn't have an NFLPA certified agent. He's having to negotiate directly with the Bears and doesn't have a deal yet. It's kind of an odd situation right there for the number 1 pick, but...
Well, he's got his dad representing him, but because of the union rules, he has to have the negotiations himself.
Yeah, those are the rules, man.
There it is.
Rules. You can't break union rules.
Keeping the money in the family.
Yeah.
The once fractured relationship between Calvin Johnson and the Detroit Lions taking another step in being repaired. Megatron will be added to the team's Pride of the Lions during the ceremony this fall when the Lions face the Seahawks Monday Night Football September 30th. So, bring Megatron back and have a feel-good moment there at the stadium. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
I certainly don't spend any time engaged in that recruiting activity because we're focused on our 16, and I want to be respectful of the difficulty that's currently faced with that issue, that set of issues within the ACC and my colleague, Jim Phillips. We're focused on our 16, period. The last 3 questions are part of the reality, which is I've responded now 3 times where our focus lies. Our focus is on our 16 members. I have a responsibility to pay attention, and I'm certainly not going to fuel speculation on what happens next.
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, I'm not a recruiter. I won't tamper and bust up your league until I'm dang good and ready.
Well, they're dealing from a position of strength. They don't have to.
Yep. 16 is our today, and 16 is our tomorrow. Good grief.
Good grief.
Good grief.
Charlie Brown?
Yeah, sure. Fresno State coach Jeff Tedford.
Popular.
Fresno State coach Jeff Tedford has stepped down from his position due to health concerns. The 62-year-old said a recent medical checkup prompted his decision. Tim Skipper, Fresno State's linebacker coach and assistant head coach, will serve as the interim head coach for this season.
All right, circling back to the SEC, just saw this come across. Brett McMurphy saying that the Big Ten and SEC are unlikely to add Florida State if it does leave the ACC and the ACC survives. The Big Ten and SEC don't want FSU because it doesn't make financial sense, no desire to expand, and, quote, they've been a disruptive partner, according to sources.
Yeah, that's what I told you. They're going to go to the Big 12.
Got to go to the Big 12 because the Big Ten and SEC are worried about tampering charges?
No, they don't want them. You continue
Yeah,
to hold. Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah. And you believe everything that's said?
Yes, I do.
That's what I thought.
And could you tell me what direction the sun rises? Because I've been confused my whole life. I believe everything everybody says at all times.
Good.
Yes. Do you believe what I just said? What people told me? And where are you getting your information from? You're just making it up.
I don't think Florida State started suing because nobody talked to them. I think this stuff plays out over years. I think USC played out over years. I think somebody wants them.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they
Our guy
went to
Brett.
lawyers and started breaking out.
I don't see the incentive of the SEC. What do they need them for?
I'd agree. I think there's more incentive for the Big Ten to need them. The SEC basically taking them to block them and not let the Big Ten expand there and become national.
I think they're in cahoots. That's my own opinion. The more powerful that both of us can get, the more influence both of us can have, the richer both of us can get. That's my own opinion. No one's told me that. I could be 100% wrong.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball. Your winner,
of the 2024 Home Run Derby. Teoscar Hernandez outduels Bobby Witt Jr. to win it. The Dodger becomes the first LA Dodger to win the Home Run Derby. And Teoscar Hernandez, the champion.
40 years of Home Run Derby, and it's finally a Dodger.
Well, Duke Snyder won it for Brooklyn.
No.
Gil Hodges?
Okay, let's just start naming old-time Dodgers. Roy Campanella. Jackie Robinson. All-Star game tonight. Paul Skeens gets the start for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Baltimore's Corbin Burns gets the start for the American League. 6 o'clock on Fox tonight.
Did you hear the national anthem?
That was
Ingrid Andress.
That was a sad wailing of the national anthem. What was that exactly?
I don't know.
It was brutal.
Now, she had that breakthrough single, More Hearts Than Mine, which is a nice, touching story of when the guy breaks up and her mama and sister and dad are going to be hurting too. It's a cool tune. And she has a little sports background. Father was a coach for the Rockies. And I liked Ingrid. That was a rough one. Rough.
DJ PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Real Salt Lake captain Chicho Arango suspended 4 matches for violation of Major League Soccer's anti-harassment policy. He'll miss both matches this week, LAFC and the Colorado Rapids. He's going to miss the All-Star game. He's going to miss the League's Cup opening match against Atlas. Anti-harassment policy, and no one will say exactly what it is he said or did. But
what do you know?
I do not know much. I know that when I tried to inquire, I got shut down pretty quickly. That's a question for the league office. Well, the league office is closed. Still a question for the league office.
Well, when will it open?
It's probably opening right about now.
We'll step outside.
Okay, I will.
I mean, you told me we're off the air anyway.
It's for the streamers. Hello. The signal is down.
So you got plenty of time.
I'll work it in the commercial break and see. When they do stuff like this, they keep it in a super tight circle. It still hasn't come out what the New England Revolution coach, Bruce Arena, the best coach in the league for 20 years, what he did to get disciplined by the league and let go by the club. And
if you ask enough questions, I've got many years of experience.
That it will eventually come out.
That you'll find. I've never been rebuffed completely. The harder I work, the more info I find.
At some point, somebody will know and let it slip.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not just them. They tell people. That's how you get it. I mean, when Bronco got hired, I found out from another coach on another team. Didn't find out from anybody from BYU. Yep. I mean, that's just an example that comes to mind.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. That's what's trending. Brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Bob Casper, coming up at 8:30, Real Golf Radio co-host. It's the week of the Open Championship. We'll talk with Bob. Tim LaComb, Jazz Radio studio analyst at 9 o'clock right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
The rivalry's back.
Yeah, man.
You know, and a lot of people have their opinions on that, for and against, listening right now. But it's inevitable. That game on November 9th is going to be bigger than it's ever been. No matter what BYU's situation is, no matter what Utah's situation is, because they're going to be playing in the Big 12, in a Power 4 conference, on a national stage. This rivalry's never had this kind of attention before. And I'm hoping, and I feel pretty confident that game's going to have a lot of meaning, one way or the other.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Disappointed in Yuck.
Why are you disappointed in Yuck?
Read your thing first. Come on. Find it and read it.
Hot Takes or Toast brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah.
Because I'm going to see Kenny Chesney tonight.
And it's Avicii for Band of the Day.
At your home away from home.
The Band of the Day is Avicii, brought to you by Live Nation for all the live events and concerts in 2024. Check out livenation.com. What's the hook for Avicii today?
Felt like it.
Oh, there it is.
You could have texted me that,
Oh, this is your thing. I'm not going to step on
It's not my
you.
thing. This is a show thing.
No. You've taken it over. Hey,
yeah.
Guy wants to be a leader. I'm going to be a follower. It's always been my motive.
Your what?
My motive.
Your motive?
Mm-hmm. Look it up. Look at the freak up. That's okay. I'll have a good time at the soccer stadium. I don't see him anymore at the big baseball or football stadiums. I mean, those things are gigantic.
You're too far away? Not personal enough?
Yeah, after having seen him 4 times at the Hard Rock in Vegas, which they don't have anymore, literally right there to where my wife makes the heart sign, and in the middle of the song, he looks at her, pulls the mic away to his own heart, and says, "Thank you." And I look at her like,
what are you doing?
You having a conversation with this guy?
Yeah, basically.
When you're that close, and then you go to the stadiums.
You've been spoiled. You can't enjoy it now.
100%. Well, you can't enjoy it as much, for sure. So, fortunately, he's coming. What's the soccer stadium called these days?
America First Field.
America First Field, yes, tonight. With, I don't know, man, but they probably can get 20,000 in there, right? What do they seat for max for soccer?
21,000 and something is the record. And that's with standing room only.
Standing room only?
Yeah.
On the
And then what do they do?
north side?
Yeah, what do they do for a stage? Do they take the seats out at the south end? They used to. I don't know if they still do that or not. They don't do as many concerts as they used to.
I've been there for shows. I don't know if they take them out or just block them off. Not sure.
They used to in the south end take them out, and they had a concrete stage underneath what essentially were portable stands.
Yeah. I know that's where the stage is on that end.
Mm-hmm. So that would limit the seating a little bit.
Right. And then they can get out of there right away if they want.
And then it depends on if they put any, right off the stage into the back lot.
The way they go, yeah.
Yep. We're out of here.
Yeah. Right. They're usually
gone before everybody else gets to their cars.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's pretty much standard. If they want to hang out, it's another story. But yeah, so they can boom, because that's the access point to the stadium where they can get the limos and everything in there, and away they go. So I'd imagine there'd be about 20, because then you can replace it with floor seats.
People on the field, depending on what
which
they
is
do.
I think is where our seats are. So getting an opportunity to see, and that's a great venue in the summer. I've been there several times. Paul McCartney played there. It was good enough for Sir Paul.
Did you see the Eagles there too?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chesney's played there multiple times.
Question of the morning. Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, is Kalani Sitake on the list of coaches on the hot seat. How hot is it for him?
I don't think it can be very hot right now.
I would think that if they have another 5-7, he gets another year.
Me too.
For him to get fired would take, I think, major off the field problems or a complete 2-10 collapse or something. Maybe that would do it.
I don't want to jinx anybody, but they really haven't had major off the field problems in a long time.
Right.
I mean, they're going to have some. The code is very, very rigid, and you're dealing with kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably going to have some, but, just hopefully for the kids' sake, it's not too grievous.
When it isn't too grievous and there aren't too many, I think then it looks like it's on the players. When there's a whole series, then it looks like it's on the coach.
Well, it depends on what it is, But I agree with you largely. I can see where they would let him go. But the thing about it that's calling me to the other side is they feel like they've made massive investments. How many analysts or whatever you want to call it, assistants to the assistants do they have now, Yak? And where they were lacking.
Well, they had 4 for a number of years during Kalani's early tenure, but off the top of my head, I can think of 8 right now.
Right. So they've made a financial investment. We know Jay Hill, the coordinators.
What kind of financial investment do they make? Unprecedented.
Yeah, that's according to Tom's words. Yeah, obviously. And so that's really cool. that they've done that. So you got to get some return. The ROI.
Fact.
Yeah.
True story.
So, but I don't think that it would be this season unless there was a total collapse and some type of player mutiny, and you just look like you were an overmatched coach. Which doesn't seem to be the case, because if, as this, for argument's sake, say he was overmatched, just completely for argument's sake, he's got guys on his staff that aren't overmatched and can cover for him from that perspective. And that's what's cool is they hired, I believe that Jay Hill and Aaron Roderick, they're the rarity that they didn't have to go be trained on the job. They could take over having been a coordinator before. And that usually hasn't been the case.
Brandon Doman, come on down. First-time offensive coordinator.
Yeah. I mean, even
right.
Jeff Grimes, who'd been coaching for 25 years.
Had been OC.
Has stepped up into that role for the very first time, right? And so that's usually the case with them. Bronco was a coordinator under Rocky Long at New Mexico when he came over and took over, so he had some experience. But they're bringing in guys with track records, and so I don't think that the coaching staff would be a mess. They'll probably make a bonehead call now and again. I mean, everybody does, whatever. Or you think you got something, the player screws it up, and you look stupid. That when you're calling 65 whatever plays a game, things are going to happen. So I think that they have a coaching staff that the players believe in and they believe in, and from that perspective, they paid money to get these guys, good money, so they're going to have some type. But I just can't see that he would be on the hot seat. But from Dennis Dodd's perspective, I can see where he thinks he is.
Well, the industry trend and coaches are, because they are getting more resources and there is more of a return, on investment expected. When they don't get it, we see coaches fired after 2 and sometimes even after 1, but usually after 2 bad years. And so at BYU, and every school's standard for a bad year is different, but at BYU, 5 and 7 definitely qualifies as a bad year.
I can't think of anybody who's been fired after 1.
Everybody's gotten fired on that short notice, has had something off the field?
I don't know, but nothing comes to mind. I mean, I assume you had somebody when you said that. I'm not arguing.
It seems like it was a quick trigger on people, but I'm trying to think who would have. I'd have to go through. It does seem like
the pro
level
level, yes, 100 times over. But at the college level, and I don't necessarily see that happening. Maybe it has. I don't know. Nothing comes to mind. So I don't think that's not even a question. It was not even a thought process that it would happen this year.
But Dennis off of 5 and 7.
Yeah.
Figures the second one, and he could be in trouble.
But I can see where he thinks that. I just don't think locally it's true, unless there was just an absolute bottoming out.
Brett says, I think what a lot of people are thinking, he posted on our Facebook page here, DJ and PK, I'm a Utah fan and would really hope that BYU takes a page out of Utah's book and understands that after Utah's initial decent season in the Power 5 conference, they had 2 5 and 7 seasons. I hope everyone is patient with Coach Sataki.
Yeah, and what were they, 4 and 5 in league play the first year?
4 and 5 to 3 and 6 to 2 and 7. It was trending the wrong way in conference play.
That's amazing when you think about it.
But the 4 and 5 was bolstered by the perfect 4-0 in non-conference, and they were 8 and 5 after their bowl win.
Yeah, right.
So it felt better, although it wasn't a winning record in conference. But then 3 and 6 and 2 and 7, and they weren't bowl eligible. And
yeah, the 3 and 6 and 2 and 7, I was worried.
The heat was on.
There's no doubt about it. It's almost like for BYU, it's a good thing that the Utes struggled.
Yeah.
Because the lesson, look at those guys.
Right. The lesson is, well, be patient. It works out. Or if somebody else, the lesson be, well, be patient. Maybe it works out. Be patient. It worked out for them. It could work out for you.
And I think he's already had his bottom out year. The 4-9 was atrocious. They were losing to UMass and some really, really bad teams.
Northern Illinois.
Yeah, last year, although Northern Illinois can be halfway decent sometimes.
That year they weren't, though.
Right. I got you. And you look at the complexion of last year, obviously it's fresh in our minds. Well, they played 2 really good ball games in terms of score, being close the last 2 games, right? And they were going with a kid who had never played before, and he was thrust in there, yada, yada. Now you can't really use that as, point to that this year. And if you want to go, well, you had a quarterback injury, and so see, well, if you want to point to the Utes, you can't just point to them when it's to your advantage, because Utah had that same thing, and I don't know if you guys heard this. They were playing with a walk-on pig farmer.
I do remember somebody mentioning something about that.
Every other minute.
I don't know who it was, because it was everybody.
And they still managed to win some games, so you can say, hey, wait a second here. If you're going to say, wow, that team over there, that program, they needed a few years to get its footing, and obviously it did, and they had a walk-on. You didn't have a walk-on playing quarterback. You had a guy who was lighting it up at the junior college range and was recruited, and you were paying him to come to our school. He's getting a free education, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the case with the pig farmer. So what's the deal here? So you can look at it both ways if you want, which usually that tends to be the case.
Which is why Sports Talk Radio succeeds. Thank you. And those first 3 years in the Pac-12, the Utes had quarterback issues as well. And when Travis Wilson got in and got some experience.
Well, they've had quarterback issues like 90% of the time.
Right, but they were having, yes. But they were having Jordan Wynn was knocked out, and they didn't have a backup in the program with any experience because he had started as a freshman and no one can play behind him.
That's the story of their lives, though. They could find themselves in that predicament again. I mean, they seem to always be in that predicament. Yeah, Rising is the lone exception.
Whew.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Keep him healthy.
I mean, they've had some other guys that were halfway decent. Wilson wasn't bad by the time he got going. Troy Williams certainly wasn't bad.
Right. And
Tyler
that's when
Huntley was good once he got going.
And they did have 1 year where they had Huntley and Troy Williams, so you felt like they had a little depth at quarterback that year.
Yeah.
But it was once Wilson got to I think it was his junior year, there were growing pains along the way, and that was part of the 2-7, and then they won.
But so what?
Yeah.
If he would have had another growing pain the next year for 3 years in a row, he would have been fired.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No, you don't get to have growing pains 3 years in a row.
Yeah, you can single out whatever. If Croton, if the guys before Croton hadn't burned a year of Brandon Doman's red shirt playing a receiver for a handful of plays, he would have had him for the next year.
Yeah, his second year could look better.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you can play that game till you're blue in the face, and it doesn't matter. You're judged by your record, and you can be judged by other stuff, but first and foremost is going to be how much did you win? And everybody knows that. That's why they're getting big-time money, 7-figure salaries, and they understand that. So he's had his mulligan. He's got to show progress this year to where you think, okay, next year, yeah. And that's where if they go 2-10, that's not progress, obviously, and he could be in trouble, and Dennis Dodd could be right, because you're running out of people to fire. You cleaned house offensively, well, up to 4-9, so be it, and then you, to an extent, cleaned house defensively. Was Guilford the only one who was retained, Yak, a couple years back?
Yeah. He's the only defensive coach.
Right, so you've already done that. You've already used those get-out-of-jail cards, basically. You fired the offense, you fired the defense. Nobody left to fire. You're not firing Jay Hill. We can make the offensive coordinator a sacrificial lamb if you want, but I don't know who you're going to get that's any better. And I think he's plenty good enough. But you're not Jay. If you there's no way you're firing Jay Hill. There's just no way. The only way Jay Hill moves is if he gets another head coaching job or he actually takes over BYU.
So takes a head coaching job, whether it's there or somewhere else.
Yeah. Right.
I would agree with that. Anything else would be surprising.
Right.
The other two would be,
unless you got some incredible amount of money to come be Morgan's DC. And BYU just can't match it, which I don't know that I see that. I mean, you get a big raise because I think Morgan's
well, I guess to your point,
in the $2 million range
can
now.
a wealthier school throw enough money that he would take the same title, but the paycheck's just so much bigger?
Right.
Which, the way college football is going, we haven't seen a lot of that, but you wouldn't rule it out.
I wouldn't rule it out, no. And especially since it's not a big, massive move.
Right. I think it was head coaches, not coordinators, but I think that was what was stunning a couple of years ago when USC took Oklahoma's coach and LSU took Notre Dame's coach. Like, they're lateral moves, but they got so much money. All right, I'll leave Oklahoma.
Yeah. I mean, you get that kind of cash.
Which was phenomenal.
Right. I mean, that talks. So, but the great thing about it is you got 12 ball games to shut everybody up.
Win 7. Show progress.
Oh, yeah, they win 7. And especially if Retzlaff is doing, well, anybody but Bohannon is taking the majority of the snaps.
So that you have them back the next year to build
You
off
never
of.
know if a kid will come back. We've had head scratchers before in today's transfer world. But on the surface, it would look like if you had a quarterback who was not Bohannon and you won 7 ball games out of 12, then that would certainly show promise for next season. It's particularly if it was Retzlaff. It doesn't matter who it is for that matter, but particularly if it was Retzlaff, then and have to play well for that, and everybody would feel great about going into the 25 season. Maybe you can make your move in the standings and start threatening because, believe it or not, I'm not 100% sure on this.
But Utah's going to have a new quarterback.
I don't know for sure. I'm not going to go and stake my rep on that completely. But I think there's a decent chance. And for all we know, they could have a new head coach.
It's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, I think it happens in the next couple years. But I don't know that either.
But at least you'd have something to build off of. You have a better season,
yeah,
and you have the most important position in the sport. You got a veteran with some experience.
Right.
As long as it's not Bohannon.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's always, actually, not just the possibility, but the probability that multiple guys play over the course of the season. And so,
which is, I think, what will happen.
You've had some of this guy and some of that guy.
So you will have,
whether it's performance or injury or both.
Next year, the quarterback will have significantly more experience than he has right now.
Because even if it's Bohannon for most of the year, the 3 other guys, somebody's going to play some of it.
Yes. And you'll feel, I believe this time next year, the program will be in a better spot than it is today. Not saying that it's in a bad spot today, but I just think that as they go into their 3rd year into the conference, recruiting, because they had, what did they have? They have a 2-year lead-in, right? To get before they started Big 12 play. So at that point, when you got the thing, so it was in 21 because it was the day before they beat Utah.
Yeah, September 10th they got the invite.
Right,
and September 11th.
2021.
Yeah.
Right. So you sign LDS kids at that point.
And they go on their mission, and they come back.
And now they've been back a year or two.
And they have the year back so that they're closer to 100%.
Right. They've gotten through that rust that they speak of. I have to go. I didn't serve a mission and all that. And I wasn't a D1 athlete, so they talk about that.
It's a long, slow pipeline, but at 4 years, you start to get some of the – and plus, if you have some success in the league for whatever you're doing in the transfer portal where you get the immediate bang for the buck. You have some success, maybe you're getting better guys out of the transfer portal.
And they know how to negotiate the transfer portal better. They've spoke about that, how they believe they probably took too many guys. And so next year, going forward, they would have another year of experience involved in it, and so they would be able to feel better about that, I think. So, get through this season, get to 6 wins. If you got to 7 wins, then you should feel good about yourself.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio, coming up at 8:30. The Open Championship coming up next. The song is We Are the World. This is We Are the Games. We will get to that next. Right now, we're going to qualify a golfer. You win a golf major giveaway. Be caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. You'll be assigned a golfer, one of the top 25 players in the world. Someone else will get the field. For this week's Open Championship at Royal Troon, if your golfer wins, you'll win FootJoy rain gear in honor of the Open from our friends at UNA Golf, serving Utah golfers since 1971.
This is Hanson Scotty.
Let's do it.
Kalani Sitake.
What is the most you've paid for a concert ticket, and what concert was it?
For me, MC Hammer.
Oh, nice.
I had the parachute pants, you know, all that stuff ready to go. I mean, don't get me started, guys.
No,
you
we
can
won't.
still listen to the stuff right now. It's good, clean, wholesome music.
Exactly.
You know, the whole family can have parachute pants and go out.
That's true.
And then do their dances and stuff like that. You know, Can't Touch This. I mean, he even had some slow songs. You know, songs about praying.
Pray.
You know, come on, man. Like, he's got it all.
What kind of a show is this? Catch Hans Olsen and Scotty G every day from noon to 3 on 97.5 1280 The Zone, powered by KSLSports.com.
You got your way, PK. The band of the day.
I'm getting my way either way. I'm going to the show.
The band of the day is now suddenly Kenny Chesney. Regardless, it is still brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com. Live Nation doubling down on the changing of the band of the day.
The bands of the day.
The bands of the day.
I mean, whoever said there's no limit?
I haven't seen the bylaws, but I believe you to be right.
Right.
Hey, the person put the deal together originally is not even here anymore, so we can do whatever we want with it.
Is he deceased?
No, just moved on from the company.
Oh, so he's gone, and he ain't coming back?
As far as I'm aware.
That's the song you chose.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, let's have. We can have bands of the day. What the heck? Why not? You got a different audience, as you guys tell me.
That's a true story.
Right.
As the consultant told us a long time ago, every segment is a show.
And every show is a segment. And I'm ready to go, irregardless.
Question up on our Facebook page. Are you into college football 25?
Yes.
Yes.
First, I want to be into 24 first. Then I'll be into 25 next year.
And then 26, and so on, and so on.
Eventually, I'll call it quits.
Kevin, no. I'm a mature, responsible adult.
So was Jakob, and he just said yes.
Yeah, pound sand, dude.
He says pound sand, dude. That almost sounds like a sand dune.
I played quite a bit yesterday.
He played quite a bit. He got nothing done. He was non-productive.
Daniel.
His wife left him, and he didn't even know because he was playing 25.
Mrs. Hatch out the door. Bye.
Daniel, who's from North San Pete High, Snow College, in the University of Phoenix, with a stop at Utah State, says, yes, I'm in.
Well, somebody's got to be in. That's why they're putting it out.
They're making money off it.
Yeah.
Someone's opening the wallet.
Right.
The credit card.
What is the enticement or the attraction, Yakamami?
I started playing Bill Walsh football and whatever they created that in '98.
Understood.
I own every version of NCAA football.
Okay, so you're addicted to it.
But why is this one just because it's the other ones and it's what you do?
Yeah, it's nostalgia's sake. And it was fun to have my son. When it launched yesterday, we were sitting down and we played a game. He'd played Madden with me, but he'd never played NCAA football.
How old is the kid?
He is 6. So he's getting into
so
it.
You're bonding with your 6-year-old.
With this version, it's kind of when I started getting into the original NCAA football, which has now been retitled college.
And does he not have a big-time NFL fan, but he has he likes the college game?
Yeah.
So it's more fun for him?
Well, he knows what Dad does for work, and it's mainly covering college football in particular, so he's got an affinity for it because I do a lot of that.
And it's summer. I mean, don't get in the way of homework.
Sure, yes, and that's the other thing about it is there's some downtime right
We don't want you to be raising no delinquent. In 10 years, we want to say, oh, man, that kid was raised right.
Well, we'll see what we can do on that front.
The latest Jazz draft pick.
Yeah, I know.
He was raised right. He can pass with his left hand.
He was raised right. And then 2 years later, I want out of here.
That comment from from our listener, Kevin, no, I'm a mature, responsible adult, has yet generated a lot of replies from people with gray hair and or white hair. I am too, and I still play video games. All a variety that looks like that.
Oh, they're going after him?
They are. They are. They don't want to put up with this. I pay my taxes. I have a roof over my head and 3 square meals on the table.
You pay your tax because you're rich. You pay taxes.
I do.
Because I've heard you folks don't pay your share.
Yeah, I'm not rich enough to get into that.
Oh, but you're still okay. But that just admits you
Paycheck
are rich.
is why I live in Utah.
You're not rich enough, but you're still rich.
I would say
no.
I would say that about 80% of America is rich.
600,000.
Yeah.
How do you figure that one? You're a money guy.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued to know.
There's a, I don't have the stat in front of me, but there's a number globally, like what number 10% of the world makes, and most of America is way over that number.
Oh, you're going world, though. Is that accurate and fair? I mean, some of these places when they say these sweatshops, $1 a day.
$1 a day.
Well, you can't really count that.
Well, sure you can. Those are people living that existence. So I think that does count.
But that skews it, though. That's not real existence in our country. No one in our country is making $1 a day.
So a guy who played basketball overseas told me what it taught him is that carpeting is a luxury.
Ooh. Man, I got a luxury coming on Thursday.
Yes. Yeah. We're Americans. We have a lot of luxury.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But right. So everyone compares themselves to the neighbor, right? The house down the street is worth twice whatever your house is, or 50% more, or pick your number. So everybody can convince
yours
themselves.
Versus mine.
Can convince themselves.
Especially the remodel. Is the moat being remodeled?
The moat is being remodeled, yes.
Nice. No wonder why I couldn't get within 100 yards of that place.
Where are the albino alligators in the meantime? They over at Hogel?
Yes. Yes, they're boarding. We boarded the albino alligators.
That was a good one.
We got a big aquarium.
Oh, I saw the moving vans and then trucks.
Got a big aquarium. And
I was wondering.
We took them over there.
I was golfing at Bonneville, and I heard all those noises. I wondered what was going on.
I'll come clean. We got so many albino alligators, there wasn't room for them all at Hogel. One is in the pond at Liberty Park, so be careful.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
So to be careful.
So this guy's Pablo Escobar with the hippos down in Colombia is what we're getting at, PK. All of a sudden, they're going to be an infestation.
No, there's no hippos. Oh yeah, I couldn't turn the alligators loose. The Great Salt Lake. We got alligators and crocs. Which one's freshwater and which one's salt?
Saltwater crocodiles.
Yeah. Take crocs in the Great Salt Lake.
In terms of blessings, am 100% of the rich. I am plenty rich.
Yes.
I'm an overabundance of richness. I just want to make that clear.
Welcome to middle class and upper middle class in the U.S. of A.
What am I?
I don't know. I haven't gone online and looked up everybody's income.
What are you talking about?
Well, I was just notified yesterday that I could. I'll tell you this.
Not everybody's. That's what I was told.
Well, yeah, but you have to have everybody to have the scale.
Oh, it's like that parade
that's what
cover
you're arguing, that the scale, like that's not reality in the U.S. We
I'm not arguing
dismiss
anything. I'm arguing you're rich.
You're not arguing anything. And then you literally say what you're arguing. I'm not arguing anything.
Right.
Yes, you are. You're arguing I'm rich.
No, I'm not. If you
just contradicted
that's
yourself.
That's like saying I'm arguing 2 + 2 is 4.
Okay, would you guys, of the topic we were talking about, would you guys so I simulated the first season in EA Sports College Football 25.
Yeah, wants to get back to the football. He's not interested in this nonsense. Yes.
Would you like the results for what BYU and Utah did?
I've heard about this. I've heard about one of our coworkers wants to create some content and have multiple people playing multiple local teams.
Yeah, so I simulated the first season just to see what.
How many times? 1,000 times?
Just one time.
Hey, 6-year-old kid, you're not done. 72 games isn't enough.
We didn't play it. You straight up simulated it.
Okay.
Like didn't mess
simulation, buddy.
Didn't mess with any of the settings or anything like that.
No messages messing with the settings.
And we're sure the settings are correct before they're messed with?
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Default, I guess, is the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
And you made the Utes go 3-9?
Yes, I made the Utes go 3-9. No, they actually went 11-3. They finished 13th in the country, missed out on the Big 12 title game by finishing 4th in the conference. BYU finished 6-7 overall, finishing 12th in the conference, having made a 6-6 record in a bowl game.
That'll be interesting as far as, and Utah very well could do that. They finish better. I don't much think they'll finish worse. But if BYU gets 6-6 and loses the bowl game.
That is an interesting place to land.
What level of accountability is held against them for having a losing record 2 years in a row?
It's a step forward because they're bowl eligible. But it's back-to-back losing seasons.
Yeah. And I guess you'd have to look at and see how many folks were.
Who did they play? Who played? Did the other team have its full team? Did you have your full team?
But that's sort of a little bit of a gray area there.
That is a gray area.
Yeah.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Tim LaComb, Jazz Radio student analyst, is talking Summer League hoops with us in 1 hour. Bob Casper's here in half an hour talking Open Championship on The Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest. And then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
Home Run Derby. The Dodgers have the Home Run Derby champ for the first time in the 40-year history of Home Run Derby. Should we get Larry the Laker, who probably has the alter ego Donnie the Dodger or something? He's been on enough talking about the Dodgers. I'm sure he loves them. Does it matter? Do they care?
Yeah.
Is it a big deal?
You won the in-season NBA Tournament Championship and the Home Run Derby Championship.
L.A. City of Champions.
Yeah.
The Home Run
just
Derby
racking
champ.
them up.
Home Run Derby champ and NBA Cup champ.
Right.
Yay.
Separated by a mere 8 months. There's something to be said for that. I mean, come on.
Home Run Derby or Slam Dunk Contest? You love to argue stuff. Can you actually argue Slam Dunk Contest? I don't think it's very close. Home Run Derby.
Oh, I would disagree.
I'm sure you would. I just want to see how you're going to argue this.
Easy.
Why?
Because I think that's the highlight of the non-game activity.
I think the three-point shootout is. They try to make the slam dunk contest but it routinely disappoints.
Oh, I don't think it does.
The biggest players won't compete. Big-time stars you want to see rarely compete. You get a lot of, and then it's judged.
That doesn't make
that
that,
gets
but
everybody.
that's the beauty of it is they don't compete.
And then, how is that the beauty of it?
Because we had the white dude who went to Georgetown and Texas Tech and is not even in the league winning it. It's like Britton Covey. Why is he so popular? He's, as he says, he's a 5'8", 160 guy, and he's white in a league that is dominating by black folks. And so it is unusual, right? Calvin Johnson, we just talked about him. Well, duh, look at the man. He's a steamroller.
There's a reason he got nicknamed Megatron.
Yes.
He's so big he looks like a cartoon character.
Yes. And Metcalf over there in Seattle. Look at him go. He's a locomotive.
Nobody can bring that man down. Just running people over and then running away from them. You shouldn't have that combination of power and speed.
Wait, what's the guy's name? What was his name, Yak? The Georgetown guy that went to Tech.
Mac McClung.
Yeah. So you got him and you got Spud Webb. Spud Webb, when did he win it? In 1945?
No, he won in the 80s.
I know, but that's
late
just for 20-year-olds, that's the same thing.
It does. It feels the same way. It does.
And that's why it was fun, because what is he, 5'6", 5'7", 5'8"?
But in that era, Michael Jordan did dunk contests, and he was the guy everybody wanted to see, and he did them.
Right, so I don't need to see it again. It's the same thing in the home run deal. Bryce Harper isn't playing.
Harper did, yeah.
Freaking Shohei Ohtani, Mr. All-World baseball player. No, we don't want to mess up his swing. He didn't do it. And yet it was still there. The place was packed. And you got Eduardo Perez and the other guys. Oh! Every time the ball goes in the air. I mean, it cracks me up. What you expect it to do?
That, to me, is the reason why David says neither one boring.
No.
Because I know you can dunk. You're in the NBA. You were probably dunking when you were 14. I know. I see you throw down amazing dunks over 7-footers in games. Now I'm supposed to be thrilled because you're dunking in a contest where there's no one else on the floor?
Because it's for fun. Loosen up, Edith.
And then home run derby. I see you hit 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. Now you're launching batting practice.
Because you have to.
Of course you're launching batting practice.
But it's fun, man. What a Stick in the mud, Yak. Jeez. Did you forget to put your teeth in this morning?
Old timer. No.
It's fun. The slam dunk thing is fun. It's the highlight
GR.
of the whole weekend.
Home run derby. No judging. Just the scoring.
Right. Speaking of no judging, where the crap was Aaron Judge?
Yeah.
He should be doing it.
He should.
So your idea of the argument, well, the guys who are supposed to that I want to see aren't doing it, so I'm going to go home run derby. Duh. That argument took a half a second to shoot down. Come on.
And that's why David's right. Neither.
No. That's you got to make a stand once in your life. You'll feel better. Be accounted for something. Go and do something. Then I like the home run derby. Not neither. I'm gonna waffle. I mean, come on.
DC Johnson. I'd rather take a nap.
Then take a nap. And when you wake up, you'll be just as bored as before you went and took the nap. And you'll be just as frustrated. Enjoy it. That's what it's there for. Use it, Rosie. That's what it's there for.
We do have a Dodger fan here. Go Dodgers. First time in history a Dodger player wins the home run derby. Exclamation point.
Teoscar Hernandez. Guy's a good dude. I've been told he's a good dude. You like to see good dudes. He's a Dominican guy, but he speaks perfect English. And he'll crack jokes. He's having a nice season for them. Another pickup because they got unlimited amounts of money.
Got a few mil lying around over here.
Yeah, for sure. All the injuries that they've had is because the injuries that they've had would decimate a team with a mid-level payroll.
Yes. Your $10 or $20 million guy goes down, you just get another $10 or $20 million guy.
Yeah. I mean,
but this mid-level payroll over here can't do
out.
that.
Muncy has been out, the third baseman. They've got 16 pitchers, but they still have a 7-game lead. And because I don't know, they can't overcome it if that's the case when they get to the postseason. And hopefully for them, that and those long-suffering Dodger fans who've had to agonize through horrific seasons year after year after year, they'll be able to.
How many straight division titles do they work on? And they don't really even
they didn't
care.
win a couple years back because the Giants had a season out of nowhere. And I think they won 110 games, and then the Dodgers won 106, something like that. But other than that, it's been like 10 or 11. You don't need to look it up.
I'm going to look it up. 10 or 11 isn't good enough. I want to know precisely.
But they had the one season where it didn't happen for them. But you take yourself out of the discussion when you look stuff up. You don't realize that. And I end up talking to Keyshawn Johnson.
What does Keyshawn have to say for himself?
I don't know, but he's making hand gestures on the TV right now. Somebody was watching FS1 last night.
And left it up for us.
Yeah. Well, there's the remotes if you want to change it. But yeah, I would go home run derby over slam dunk. But slam dunk still entertains me because of I want to see the lesser guys. I've already seen these other dudes. I don't need to see them do it again because you can't do it again. That's the thing about it is
you can't create something that's entertaining because it goes back to there's nobody on the court.
Yeah.
There's nobody on the court. It just looks too easy.
And what would Jordan do for an encore? This is one thing that you can't have an encore.
What would Donovan Mitchell do? I mean, he had the second backboard out there when he won it. You going to roll out a third backboard?
Right. But Blake Griffin jumping over a car.
Now over 2 cars. Let's go, Evel Knievel.
That was awesome. That was just awesome to see that. Blake Griffin.
Cedric Ceballos blindfolded. Could he actually see?
Cedric Ceballos? No, he was blindfolded.
Yeah.
The Cal State Fullerton guy?
Yeah, sure
getting out there? No, you think he's a cheater?
He could see through it.
No, I can see through you. You're just jealous.
Big West Ham dunk champions for 100, Alex.
Come on, man. This is the time to celebrate. The reason why I go home run derby is because there's no judges.
And we had people mention that. There's no judging. Yeah. It's just scoring.
Right. If it goes
over
the fence, you get
somebody
a point.
actually throws down some creative dunk and then somebody gives them an 8.
Right.
What are you doing?
How do you figure that out? Yeah. And I'm not a big judging fan. Ever since the Olympics, and the French skaters, or was it the French judge? That really...
It was the French judge.
What was it, the French judge? Yeah.
The Canadian skaters were later given a duplicate gold medal.
Oh, they were?
Yes.
Oh, that's, I checked out at that point.
I don't blame you.
I mean, and my heart was broken over that whole Olympic thing because the editors of the Watchdog didn't think I was good enough.
You didn't actually want to do it, but you wanted to be thought of as being good enough.
I wasn't good enough. And that was about the 25th time in their nonverbal way they told me, you're not good enough. I got you're not good enough right here.
Well, now they're all gone. They've all scattered to the four winds.
All you do is win awards here. I'm just repeatedly told you're not good enough here.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah. Right. I should have gone into TV. Then I would have been loved.
You would have hated it and gotten out. With all this popularity, loving stuff.
Yeah, but I made it in that form without having actually sell out. That's the beautiful part.
Now you'd be getting judged on your clicks, so it'd be different. But in that era, everybody had a subscription, so you didn't have to worry about it.
Clicks?
Yep.
I got your clicks right here.
Right here.
What a sad state. You're judged by clicks.
Yep. Which really comes down to the topic. As you have learned, riding in a low-pressure environment.
BYU and the Mormons, they're good to go.
There it is. If the clicks are decided when the topic is either chosen or assigned.
Well, next week I'm going to write about the honor code.
See? Bang! Winner!
Let's see.
Back when you were getting a buck a page view, he used to say, well, I could write about whatever the topic. I could write about this, but that'll cost me at a buck a page view.
That's sad. But that's what we've got to do. But I get that they're trying to survive, and that's sad that they're trying to survive. Journalism is trying to survive?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know it's reality, but it drives me nuts that that's the reality of it. It's too important. You see what I'm saying?
I totally see what you're saying, but the reality is
I know.
It's trying to survive, and people get information from crazy sources. We've sat in here and talked about takes we've seen on social media and what people think, and that's not remotely close to the truth, and for whatever reason, people choose to believe it.
I know all of that.
And it drives you nuts.
I can't argue with anything you're saying.
It drives you nuts. It's like you've talked to multiple people who've seen it, and they don't usually agree on anything, and they agree that this is what is happening. Ute and Cougar administrators agree, but the public thinks whatever about the rivalry.
It's crazy. And it's sad.
Yeah.
For those of us who came up in it and believe in it. Like I did, not to the degree that I do now. At its core, I believe in it immensely. And it's a level of importance at the local level. It might even be more important at the local level than it is at the national and international, and it's probably just as important at those levels too. The purpose behind the idea of what journalism is.
Right.
Yes. So I take no delight in the suffering and the downturn that it's taken. I'm actually like grateful that I moved into another area and not have to worry about it, and didn't have to worry about it. And I don't want to say grieve, that's too strong, but I have concern for those who have to go through it.
And there doesn't seem to be much anybody can do about it.
I know.
Seems to be trending in the direction it's trending.
Yeah, no doubt
and
about it.
No one person or small group of people can seemingly change that.
Right. I got you. That's why, with all the stuff that goes on in the world, why I watch the Home Run Derby, because it's harmless fun. I like harmless fun. I like stupid fun. It's why I watched, in the 80s, Cheers. It's why I watched Everybody Loves Raymond and King of Queens in the 90s. Because it was harmless, stupid fun. It didn't mean anything. They weren't trying to make any point out of just being stupid. to me, that's a good diversion from the world. I love the band Old Dominion, and the lead singer is a guy named Matthew, and he'll come on and play a couple songs usually, and then they talk a little bit, and he'll say, for the next 2 hours, we want you to forget everything and just enjoy it and have a good time and sing and dance and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's what it's about. And that's what I'm going to be doing tonight with Chesney. I'm going to forget about all the crap and just enjoy the music.
Escapism.
Yeah. I'm not looking for... I've never really liked, what's the song? Protest songs.
When you look for movies, you're not looking for historical dramas of painful times. My mother-in-law used to say, don't give me a movie with real life.
That might be different, though. No, I went and saw, what was that movie with Wahlberg where they were up on the hill? And... Lone Survivor.
Okay.
So I went. I knew my wife wouldn't be into that, so I went by myself. Mm-hmm. And when that thing was over, nobody in the audience could speak because you were just so
that heavy.
Humbled that these soldiers and these military people, this is what they went through. So it was good for me to learn. And it was a movie, and I got it's embellished and all that stuff.
Right.
But the core of it. That was very humbling, and you walked out of there. And I looked at everybody. Nobody could speak. They couldn't talk because it was so powerful, as you say. So I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't like a steady dose of that. Give me the Tom Cruise jumping off buildings and blowing up stuff and motorcycle chases through some exotic location in Europe where I'll never be. So I can see that. So, yeah, mostly yes on that, absolutely. The other stuff, 100%.
DJ PK, when we come back, Bob Casper joins us, Real Golf Radio co-host, the Open Championship this week. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
It's Eduardo Encina covering the Tampa Bay Lightning. Big trade that the Utah Hockey Club made during the draft, acquiring Mikhail Sergachev.
Sergachev, no question, a number one left side defenseman. He's a guy that, any team can really build around on their blue line. He's offensive-minded. He can run a power play. I think when you look at all of that, the Utah Hockey Club is getting a great guy on and off the ice that they can really build around. I mean, I think that, his time is really one of the consummate leaders in Tampa. He was going to have to wait for that. I think there he really goes into there, and he can be that guy who can really lead a blue line into the future. And as a reporter, I can't say enough good things about Mikhail Sergachev because he's one of those guys who you really love watching the way he plays on the ice, and he's just, one of the best guys in the room and to cover on a daily basis.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 1280 The Zone, powered by KSLSports.com.
Growing our hair, we were cutting class. We were striking matches, Sniggy, just to watch them burn.
DJ PK, it is time to bring in Bob Casper. The Open Championship is upon us. Bob, good morning.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're doing well. Well, we're not. We're panicking. Who are we kidding? We're panicking big time. Yeah, because we're used to doing the draft on Wednesday, and we're not prepared. And we're afraid you are, and you're gonna dust us now.
Well, I'm kind of not prepared too, but that's okay.
Nobody dusts me at this.
See, now he's boasting.
It ain't no braggadocio if you can back it up.
That's right.
Who said that, Wilt?
No, it was Muhammad Ali. It ain't bragging if you can do it. I think it's a quote.
I thought I said Wilt extended the word into braggadocio or something like that.
Maybe he did. I don't know that. Bob, tell us about Royal Troon before we get to the picks. What have they done to this? Who does it favor? What is the most noticeable thing when people turn on TV? This is really important, and you should know this about Royal Troon.
So the golf course is green because they've had a lot of rain in the last little while. So because of that, the golf course is not as fast off the tees as it would be if it was burnt out or browned out. So you're going to see all types of shots into greens. You're going to see all types of shots off the tees. Guys are going to hit irons off the tees. They're going to hit drivers off the tees. You're going to see bump and runs. You're going to see putting from off the greens. But the golf course is going to play approximately 7,400 yards. It's a par 72. It has one little hole that they are known as the postage stamp. It's only 120 yards. It's a par 3. So there's a lot of fun stuff about this golf course. You go out on 9 holes and you come back on 9 holes. The 9th hole doesn't come back to the clubhouse. So very reminiscent of St. Andrews. You go out and then you come back. So you can get some pretty good, depending on what the wind is, you can get some pretty good help with the wind going out, and then coming back it can hurt you, or vice versa. So it's going to be interesting, and they're going to have a little bit of rain this week, probably on Thursday and Saturday and Sunday.
Of all the majors, is this one, can you classify that you'll be okay if you don't screw up?
Well, PK, the interesting thing about this one is that if you get on the wrong side of the draw or the wrong side of the starting times, you can shoot yourself out. It's very, very difficult because the wind could be non-existent in the morning, then it could come up in the afternoon, or the rain could be non-existent in the morning, come up in the afternoon, or vice versa. So that's what's interesting about playing links golf is a little bit more, you've got to hit great shots and everything, but there's a little bit more luck involved in links golf.
When you watch this unfold, how much does it matter for European golfers playing there versus playing in the U.S.?
Well, they're more used to it, that's for sure. I mean, Rory was asked today in his press conference, is it easier for you to go to what they call parkland golf, which is what we play in the United States, or is it easier for you to revert back to links golf? And he said it's definitely easier for me to play parkland golf because my ball flight is a little higher in the air. But he said, I have all those shots to play the links golf, but it's definitely, I have to work at it more to get ready to play a links style golf course.
We know what happened last time with him. How easy is it for these guys to move on, generally speaking?
Well, yeah, his was very disconcerting for him. 496 out of 496 till he missed the one on the 16th green. The one on the 18th hole was very difficult putt, downhill, sweeping left to right, and hit the lower edge of the hole. He said he took a 3-week reset, played his first golf last week in the Scottish Open, and here he is again for the Open Championship. But having said that, a lot of those guys, when it comes to that close, he said he would rather be close than not in the mix because then he knows that he's playing great golf. But, again, it's a heartbreak, and that one was a heartbreak for him, definitely, PK.
Have you been watching Live Golf closer now, trying to figure out so you can figure out who to draft to beat PK and I?
No, I haven't.
Not at all.
No, I haven't at all.
Me either.
The interesting thing is they had a streaming service called Caffeine that dropped them, Live Golf, because there weren't any people signing up for the streaming service. And I think the only way you can watch any of it is on the CW. But I don't watch any of it. No, I don't.
Did you see what Colin Montgomery said about Tiger?
I did.
You going to light him up a little bit, light a fire?
Yeah, maybe it did. But, Tiger came back in his press conference this morning. He said, you know what?
Yeah.
I can choose whether I want to play until I'm 60. But Colin doesn't have that luxury because he's never won the Open Championship. Tiger's won it 3 times. So that was a little shot over the bow at Colin, too.
Right. So you think that can that help Tiger do any kind of contention?
Absolutely. And Tiger said that he was working out really hard, or he's been working out really hard since the U.S. Open. And so he's able to do some things that he wasn't able to do before. And he hasn't said what those were. But he said he feels like he's in much better position to be able to compete and play. He's also been spending a lot of time with the PGA Tour and the stuff with the PIF fund, trying to get that merger all taken care of with the PIF. And so there's a lot on his plate right now, and that's why he decided to give up the Ryder Cup captaincy, and we see Keegan Bradley as the Ryder Cup captain.
So you're going to pick him?
With the first, Tiger? Yeah, with the first pick.
Heck no.
I was hoping you'd leave Scotty Scheffler for me. Take Tiger 1.
No, I'm sorry. Scotty's my guy.
Is he really?
Who knew?
Xander and Scotty's my guy.
It's worked so far.
Yes, it has. Two out of 3 this year.
Yep.
Well, I don't know I don't know that I should do it, but Rory, fine.
No, that's a good one. I like that.
You're going Rory?
Yep.
Oh, poo.
DK.
What?
Well, at least Rahm's not withdrawing this week.
I thought I had Rory.
You have Rahm.
No.
I thought Rahm, but he's dinged up. That's like taking Kawhi Leonard.
John Rahm's odds, I see him here at plus 2,200. He's got the 8th best odds in the field. Not as good as Xander Schauffele with it because he's your regional pick.
But you can
took him
have him. I'm going to give him to you
if you want. It's okay. If you want him, you can take him.
Oh, my.
Looked like you were running out of breath there.
I got plenty of breath.
I was trying to save you.
Plenty of air. Make your pick.
You know, DJ, you've got a good pick in Tony, though.
Yeah, and he's
12th best odds.
Tony's been playing some good golf lately.
Been playing great golf lately.
I know, and I wouldn't be surprised if he plays great this week too.
Right. So shut up.
He's my regional pick. Tony Finau went to West High School, like one of my kids. So there it is. We got the Panther Pride tie.
Right. They're best buddies too, aren't they?
They are a decade apart in age, so they've never met.
Oh. Well,
okay.
I'm more than a decade with Tony, and I've met him. I'm gonna stick with DeChambeau.
You're gonna stay with DeChambeau, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got my. I wanted Rory, but I can't have him. I guess. Because I want to root for Rory. That was more of a sentimental pick. I want to root for him. I hope he wins.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd be fine with that. I hope he wins. I'm really pulling for him.
Bounce back after
I think
having
it's a great story.
Putts go awry there at the end.
Yeah.
It would be cool.
Got it.
All right, Bob. Now it gets interesting.
PK, you have Rahm and
DeChambeau for now.
DeChambeau.
I got a couple other guys I got zeroed in on and see if they're available.
I'm going to email this to you, Bob, so you'll have it here shortly.
Okay.
But you got to make the pick so you don't draft someone who's already been drafted.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm looking way up here at the top of my picks now.
See, I look at the bottom. I like the stunning upset. Matthew Fitzpatrick, the greatest pick of all time. That's the GOAT. I just want you guys to know. And you can't even argue.
I'm going to go Morikawa.
Oh, come on.
Heartbreaker.
All right, I'll take Ludwig. I love to say Ludwig.
You do?
Ludwig Oberg.
That's a good one.
Say it a few more times.
Ludwig Oberg. Ludwig Oberg. I did want Morikawa. It just feels like he ought to do it.
It do.
Yeah. He's already done it once.
Yeah, haven't we all?
Harding Park, right?
Yes, he did.
PGA Championship.
He won the PGA Championship, but he also won.
Yak, don't shake your head at him, Yak. Just ignore him and go on like it didn't happen.
He also won the Open Championship.
Yeah,
too.
we've all won a British.
Your pick, PK.
I'll go Big Vic.
Big Vic?
Victor Hovland. Oh, that's your kind of standby.
Yeah. I wanted A-Bear was my new guy, but I must have mentioned it because now DJ chooses him.
Nope.
Yeah, but I draft third, and I'm leader. This is the most impressive athletic accomplishment that I've ever had in my whole life.
I thought you played golf pretty well yesterday.
It's most impressive in your mind.
And everybody else's mind who has a brain. Yeah. I pick last, and I have the most major championships. I love me.
Championship.
His most impressive athletic accomplishment is how straight he drives it off every tee. I mean, Mike Reed, Radar, old school BYU golfer, right?
Yep.
And his nickname was Radar because he drove it so straight.
Radar.
PK's the next generation of Radar, right down the middle.
Generation.
Splitting the fairway.
210 yards. I crush it.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Maybe pushing about 200.
I can usually get to 200 if there's a tailwind.
Okay, so we have one more?
Yep, round 3. And if you take my guy, I'm going to be upset.
We're running out of guys.
I've already
take the same
typed it in.
guys every time.
Well, we do know who the top 20 golfers are in the world. And Golfer 50 doesn't tend to win.
No, he doesn't.
So who you taking, Bob?
I'm going to take Sahith Theegala.
A fun name to say if no other thing there.
I'll take Patrick Cantley.
Ooh, okay.
BK?
I'm going to go with Smitty.
Cameron Smith, huh?
Yeah. I used to wear my hair like that.
You had the big flow going, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I've actually seen a picture of him. Was it your senior year of high school? And he's staring off and the hair is flowing. I mean, it was like you wouldn't even recognize him.
When I was topless?
PK?
You didn't have a shirt on?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was the day after I graduated high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had reason to smile.
Because you were actually able to graduate?
Yeah, against all odds.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a teacher, it was like government my senior year, and it was towards the end it was like in May, and he was calling guys up, students, and what are your plans? And I said, I'm going to go to college. He said, no, really. True story. True story.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's probably not even, well, that's pretty good, but tell them about the coach and the cut.
Oh,
this is great. This is also what everybody thought of him in high school.
I didn't have a good. I played high school baseball, and on President's Day weekend on the Sunday, I went to a party, and I took my mother's had a station wagon, and you used to buy those like what were they 32, 64 ounces of soda, but they came in glass, and I took a corner, and she had some in the back. And I took a corner, and they fell over and they cracked, and they splattered. It was Sprite, and so it was at night. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and I reached in to clean it up, and it was dark, and I sliced my ring finger. So the next morning, I had to go get stitches, and that night at like midnight, and so the next morning we got baseball practice, and I show up, and I tell him what happened. And then a couple days later, the coach says, hey, you're a senior, and so when you graduate, I want you to come back next year and tell me what really happened.
Nice rep.
And I had to take a lie detector test, practically.
Oh,
how much did you have to? None. How much did you have to? Were you doing it? No. It was all what I said. I told the exact literal truth.
G-rated truth. There's no PG-13 here.
I did have two friends in the car, but they were both female. And, but geez, my gosh. I didn't do anything wrong. No wonder why I feel picked on my whole life by Bob Casper and you guys.
Yep, that's right.
Amazing I have any self-esteem whatsoever.
Serves you right.
I know.
Bob, we're going to leave it right there. We're out of time. Okay. We'll see if we have a winner. Okay. We don't have the bonus round we've had in the past. Fewer chances to win, but I think somehow we still picked a winner in there somewhere.
Yeah, we did. All
right, thanks, Bob.
Okay, boys.
Bob Casper.
We'll talk to you later.
The Open Championship. And, of course, he and Brian will be on the air Saturday morning on the Zone, Real Golf Radio. DJ and PK coming up in about 20 minutes. Tim LaComb talking Summer League and BYU basketball. One more get for the Cougars. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
How does this team handle being the team to beat year one? There's a lot of teams in this conference that have been playing each other over the years, and they're like, really? You think you're going to come in here and you're going to run this place? No. They're going to have a target on their back, even though they haven't played any of these teams. There's a target that's going to be on Utah's back year one. It's crazy that that's the case. I mean, did Utah have a target on their back when they went to the Pac-12? No. Did TCU when they went Big 12 initially, when they made the move up? Did BYU last year? No. To come into a league year one at this level, at the highest level of college football, and expect to win it all, everyone's looking around going like, who are these guys thinking they're going to come in here and win our league? No way.
Right.
So that's an interesting dynamic, and Utah's going to have to be up for that.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win a pair of tickets to a day to remember at Utah's First Credit Union Amphitheater on July 21st. Listen to Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. Feel your bare feet on the dashboard. Kenny Chesney tonight. Oh, man, I'm going to be a mess tomorrow.
Because you're going to be up so late? Because you're going to be... Well, it depends where you park. You can get out of there pretty quick if you park a little ways away.
Oh, I got a plan.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Park over by the school?
I'm not going to give up my plan.
I think that's the quickest place to escape from.
I got a plan. We'll be fine.
I had a kid. Utah Jazz played the Summer League game with Sacramento. Despite the 5 turnovers and the general sloppiness, you took a form of encouragement.
Absolutely, I did. I took a most form of encouragement collectively. Looking at the 3 draft choices this year, all 3, to me, showed me something watching them play that ball game. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for signs. We're looking for glimmers. We're looking for hope. And I collectively now, I thought it was there. Filipowski, I don't know what the stats are. I didn't look. I just watched him play, and I liked his aggressiveness, not just being a spot-up shooter. He had a nice putback dunk.
Yep, you got some size. Use it. Go to the glass and throw down that putback.
And he had some shots. Even if he didn't make them, he was aggressive. They weren't just standing at the three-point line. And that's important, but you got to have more than that. I mean, who can just survive just being an exclusively a three-point shooter? What's the point of being 6'7"? I mean, 6'10", 6'11"?
If that's the only thing you do.
Yeah.
Go ahead and be good at it, but don't make it the only thing you do.
Be great at it. And,
even better.
But, that's hard to do. And so I thought he showed some a diversified game, more of a complete game. And Williams, I've been on this guy's train for months, and I ain't getting off now after, 5 or 6 Summer League games. He has athleticism. He has elite
the left-handed pass he threw in the air, that was impressive.
Yeah, and then he came out and contended and blocked a 3 from the corner. You've got to be able to move. You've got to be able to get out there, and you've got to have reach. Check those boxes. Yes, yes. He's still a pup. He looks 15 years old. And he'll develop. And the most developed is Collier, which doesn't surprise me at all because he's got the body. And Carlissimo was talking about his ability to get inside and take a hit and still make a bucket. He did that. He got knocked fading away to his left. I think he might have banked it in. Missed the free throw. But, free throws are missed. And he looked good shooting. I know he had 5 or 6 turnovers in the first half or whatever it might be, but who cares? Those are things.
There is a certain amount to Summer League where guys don't have the relationship, and a guy cuts one way and he's going to cut the other.
Zero relationship.
Yeah, weird things happen. Right. He just continues to show he can get into the paint anytime he wants. So does he have a jump shot to go with it, and does he have a floater to go with it? And not now, because the answer now is no. But is he going to have it in 3 years?
Well, nothing is now with these guys.
Right. But in 3 years, does he have a floater so he doesn't have to finish over the 7-1 guy at the rim every time?
The British Open starts. No one's going to win the thing on the first day, but they can lose the thing on the first day. If you shoot a 78, you're not making a cut. You're going to have some outrageous.
In Summer League, NBA guys can't prove that they can play at the highest level, but they can prove that they're overmatched in Summer League and their mistakes.
Right. And these guys, I'm trying to look at it as objectively as possible, which I don't think anybody is 100% objective. I think it's impossible to achieve. But as I look at it, I can see why each kid was drafted. Now, I haven't studied the other guys. They should have drafted player ABC because it's way too early for that. Check back in like 26, and we'll do that in 26.
Then we'll have an idea what happened there.
Right, because we'll see those
Why did that guy
dudes,
slide?
All these guys will play at the highest level, and we'll be able to make those evaluations. But to me, it's easy to see why each kid was drafted. And right now, I would say Collier should have been drafted higher, but it's a snap judgment. But to me, this kid has a chance minimally to be a capable backup. We'll see where he can go from beyond that. And maybe this is concocted and it's not even close to the truth. I'm not pretending I'm an NBA talent evaluator expert, but I've seen the kid play. I knew about him. I knew when the SC got him. Blah, blah, blah. It's one of these kids. It's so easy to follow now.
The elite.
Yeah. High school. Like I said 20 times, I've seen Cooper Flag play 10 times.
Didn't used to be like that.
No.
Now here we are.
Right. I mean, you can remember when I was working in L.A., I heard about this kid in Northern California.
Tom Brady.
No. Which thing, basketball?
Barry Bonds.
No, high school kid. Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
I was working sports down there, and you heard about that, and then you got to follow him, and it turned out okay.
Yep.
Not everybody. There's also a kid named Shea Cotton that I heard a lot about.
I remember that name, Shea Cotton.
Yeah.
Good name. Be caller 12 right now. Our Unit Golf Major giveaway continues. Caller 12 at 801-575-ZONE. If you are caller 12 now, you'll be assigned a golfer for the Open Championship at Royal Troon. If your golfer wins, you'll win FootJoy rain gear in honor of the Open from our friends who win a golf, serving Utah golfers since 1971. Who have you given away already today, Yuck?
We gave away Rory McIlroy just a little bit earlier.
Ooh, all right. We'll find out who the next golfer is momentarily. Call right now, 801-575-ZONE. Coming up next, Tim LaComb talking Summer League and BYU melding all that talent into one team. That's next. Stay with us. DJ and PK joined now by Tim LaComb, brought to you by Spherian Staffing and Recruiting. Are you a business owner? You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. Let Spherian Staffing and Recruiting do it. Visit Spherian online at spherian.com/Utah. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. What's up, Tej?
There are so many things. So many basketball questions for you. Let's start.
I'll do my best to answer.
Let's start in your backyard. BYU. I am curious with all this talent, but a lot of it's new. You've got transfers coming in from Rutgers and from Utah. You've got international players. You've got a guy from Africa, a guy from Russia. You got about half the roster was there last year. You got a freshman coming in from Corner Canyon. How do you meld all this talent, all this potential into a real team? Because everybody's got their plan. Some guys only want to be here 1 year. Some of you guys dreamed of wearing the blue for 4. How do you get this mix into a cohesive team? What do you do?
Well, what would be a good start is to get somebody that, maybe a handful of guys that coached people like this before, maybe in the G League, where you're getting all sorts of different dudes and everybody's timeline's a little bit different. I think BYU set up great there. The coaching staff has dealt with this time and time again. It's basically the start of every season. In the G League, you get a whole new slew of guys. There's some guys that have been around, but a lot of new faces with different programs. And I think probably the most important thing amongst all of it is that they have, you said the word cohesiveness. They're able to form a team. But on top of that, to be able to quickly assess and begin to develop these guys, which is another great skill the staff possesses. But that's the challenge every single year, every single team. You've got 13 individuals with their own plan, and you need to make it all meld into the most important plan, and that's the team plan and winning games.
With all that said, how much do you even marvel that he's got this class like this? Because it used to be when a coaching hire was made, you sort of looked for low expectations on the initial recruiting class because, he was late and all that stuff. And I realize with the transfer portal, things have changed. But the newcomers that he's got, the incoming freshmen, seem to be so wild as far as the expectations that I don't know how it's going to turn out. But you got to give him and Kevin Young and his staff the credit to be able to get these guys in such a short period of time.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think the thing to point out is obviously, there's been a different type of financial commitment made, and that's part of it. But I've told a bunch of people it's not just walking around waving money because money's always been part of the deal. It's just now above the table, which is a game BYU can play now because everything is above board and legal. So it's one they feel comfortable playing. But at the same time, you still have to have knowledge of guys, and you have to have a relationship. Guys aren't just going to come blindly for the money. I think money is definitely a factor, but all these guys have professional ambition. And so when you're getting these top level guys, you've got to have something that stands out that impresses them, from a system standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. So money's definitely a factor, but yeah, you got to give these guys a ton of credit for identifying talent this quickly, going out and being able to compete with other schools, and ultimately to be able to get guys that, quite frankly, BYU's never really been in the game for.
You've been watching Summer League. Who has made a positive impression on you right out of the gate? Someone you're confident saying, that guy's going to be a pretty good player in the NBA. They got him.
Well, I was so high on Cody Williams all the way along. I think he's a guy for the Jazz that, just makes sense. I think his only limitation right now is his strength, his physical strength. And we all know that's, after 19 coming in here, you just look at Taylor Hendricks' body after 1 year, and strength will not be an issue. But I think he shows all the things we saw on film, his understanding of the game. If he gets locked up, he's a great cutter and get some back cut dunks, those types of things. But we've seen him shoot the three and put it on the floor and attack the basket and get out in transition. I think he's the guy out of the draft that I was hoping the Jazz would be able to get. I didn't think there was any way he'd be there at 10. But when they did get him at that point, really, really happy. And I think he's played well. Again, there's going to be nights where he is physically just kind of moved around, and that's going to happen. I remember Walker Kessler's rookie year, particularly early in the rookie year, he had to figure out how to deal with all that physicality. The real answer is, get in the weight room, build your strength over time. But in the short term, there'll be some great nights and there's going to be some tough nights, but that can be said for rookies generally.
Yes, it can. With the watching these guys play in multiple Summer League games, the three guys that they drafted, I have a level of positivity regarding their ability to be players in this league, whether, knowing that you're going to have to give it time, to what degree remains to be seen, and then combine with George and Hendricks of what we've seen from last year. I'm thinking, for multiple reasons, I might be more in on the tank than I have been the last couple of years, because get these guys playing time at the NBA level rather than the G League level. I don't think they look overwhelmed. And then also, too, they're going to lose because youth at that level, being so young, doesn't win in this league. And you could set yourself up for another a better draft pick, knowing that if you're not in the top 10 again, you lose the thing to Oklahoma City this year. So for multiple reasons, I might say if somebody said, hey, tank or try to win as many games as possible, I think I would go tank. What do you think?
Well, thank you very much for that. I think
I got it.
Yeah. I think that you said the most important thing there. I think you fill your roster with first and second year guys, and you can't expect to win a whole lot, unless they're just all, really incredible players. And these guys are great players, but they've got a lot of limitations early, and they've got some things to learn. Rookies in general, that's going to be the equation. And so, it's going to be an interesting I'm curious to see how the summer finishes up, and if this is the roster. But I think you're thinking right. I think it's going to be a team that's got a ton of young talent. Young talent struggles to be consistent, but we'll see great flashes and we'll see tough nights. I mean, yesterday, that Summer League game last night was brutal. 26, 27 turnovers. Everybody took their turn. And, I mean, those are the type of things that will happen on certain nights when another team kind of climbs up in space. But certainly the prize is out there. Again, I think they've got a generational guy waiting at the top of the draft in Cooper Flagg. So it's just going to be now, what do the Jazz do to round out the roster? But I think that, to me, that's the direction this thing's going.
If that's the direction it's going to go, don't they need to move Collins and move Clarkson? Because those guys are going to win a game. Maybe, if you just win 1 or 2 games a month, that's 5 to 10 victories that'll mess up your draft position. To PK's point about, oops, look, you're drafting 12, so you're not drafting at all.
Yeah, those are the two guys when I say round out the roster, is kind of thinking about, I know that those guys have been floated out there for most of the summer, Clarkson even last year at the deadline. So it'll be interesting to see as teams are finishing out their roster as well. If there are moves made, it would not surprise me, and I think that would fit the narrative.
What return? Do you look to move them? You can hold out for a first-round pick. You can do whatever you want. But if the market doesn't dictate it, do you just lower your standards, I guess?
Well, I mean, the one thing Ainge never does is he never gets desperate. And, in my mind, he tries to avoid at all costs a bad deal. So that's where this gets a little bit tricky, because you definitely have the desire, if you're going to play young guys, you got the desire to move a couple dudes, but those two particular guys, it may not be as easy to get back what you expect or want. So I don't think you completely bite the bullet, but I think there are a lot of teams out there, particularly Clarkson, a guy coming off the bench that could really spark a team. And then Collins, he definitely kind of repackaged, was able to, after the year of shooting 29% in Atlanta, come to Utah. And I think he's shown a comfort level here. I think he's kind of found himself playing that small ball 5. It depends on what other suitors are out there. But that is the one right now. That's the piece that I'm focused on, just kind of looking at the roster saying, in a perfect world, I think that those two things will probably have to happen.
I think the tougher call is what do the Jazz want to do with Colin Sexton? He's a little older. He's seen a little more time, playing in the fourth quarter and might be a little more poised with a game on the line. He also has a similar role. He's not exactly the same, but a similar role to Keontae George. And then you could see where he overlaps with Collier a little bit. So what do you think his future is with the club?
I actually think Colin made, in my mind, the biggest move of anybody last year. I think he really has right-sized his game. You saw a lot of careless turnovers when he got here, and you saw some similar things to Collier in some respects, a guy who has the physical tools to just be outstanding. But sometimes, it's learning to drive the Lamborghini and deal with some of the features. So I think Sexton's a little bit like that. I think he's really learned through development, and I think the Jazz have done a phenomenal job, just slowing him down and having him see his reads and being more conscious of what those reads are. So I actually am one to keep Sexton. I think Sexton is a guy who's going to hold some. I think he's still on the incline in his career. I think he's still getting better. So I think it's worth keeping him around and serving as somewhat of a mentor in some ways for Collier.
Who can play together though in the backcourt? How much do you factor that in?
Well, I think Sexton and Collier would be really a nuisance back there for teams. The way that they can crawl up in the ball. The one thing about Collier, he's bigger than you think. He's 6'4", 6'5", and so those guys could really get after it. And I think that they could, create for each other, create for the team. That could be a pretty interesting guard tandem. I don't see any guys that can't necessarily play together. If a guy, we go back to where a guy's 6'1" or 6'2" and really struggles, but Jazz has some size. Keontae's a bigger guard now, some length, and I like the way he's put on some weight in the offseason. His body looks better. So I think their guard line actually could work together fine. Even Clarkson, if he's around, he could fit in as well. But it's just a matter now of these last X number of weeks of summer and how this thing will evolve, if it changes at all, and if it does, who.
Switching to the Olympics here with the tune-up game, are you encouraged because the U.S. led Australia, one of the better teams in the Olympics, by 24 in the third, or are you discouraged because they had 18 turnovers and it was a 6-point game in the fourth?
Well, I've been told that Mark Few's the turnover coach, and I'm really disappointed in his effort to limit those. I'm just kidding. I just had to throw some shade at my guy. It's crazy. I haven't watched a ton yet. I'll watch as things start to heat up. I've never, outside of the Dream Team, and even before that, when they used to send just regular Joes, I've just never been that geeked on Olympic basketball. But what I will say is I think the world's catching up. I think it's pretty obvious the games that used to the USA used to win by 60, 70 points, and now those games are in the teens. And I think every country has gotten better. I think the basketball being played all over the world is really good. So this will be fun. It's going to be fun to kind of hone in on that. But I honestly have been watching way more baseball in Summer League right now, to be completely honest.
Well, were you surprised that when Kawhi Leonard was taken off the team that the Olympic Committee didn't choose to replace him with Bronny?
Yes. I mean, he is putting on a show in Vegas, the likes we haven't seen since Wayne Newton's last show.
Donkashane.
Donkashane, baby. But the crazy thing, pull up ESPN, search Summer League, and Bronny James, regardless of the day, is the picture. They just, like last night, they have a picture of him up against the Celtics. And it's just kind of sad in some respects. I think, yes, last night he ended up with 2 points. I mean, he's airballed.
He's in a shooting slump. Come on, it happens.
The Summer League and airballs, you know? If there were a stat for that, I bet Locke has one.
Yeah.
It's airballs.
And there's a lot of that because it's in Vegas.
Oh, dude, it's brutal. You know, guys, the minute they get out of there, they've got big plans all night, and then they show up the next day and airball again. I love your chuckle. I like making you laugh. You're such a cynic that when I make you laugh, I know I've done it.
Not a cynic.
Yes, you are.
Mission accomplished.
I don't believe that.
DJ, is he a cynic?
See what he did there? He doesn't believe you. Because he's cynical.
I mean, you've been sitting next to him for what seems like 100 years.
105
in
dog years.
Methuselah.
Yeah, you should see him now, man. The guy can golf. We went out. Wow. He's powdering
really?
the ball. Oh, yeah. You give him a couple of tips. He takes them to heart.
Does then he start talking trash, or is he
Yeah. He said on drives on 9 yesterday, he said, hey, you know, did you know that they can put an entire gymnasium between your ball and mine?
I gave you that one time. PK outdrove me so bad one time. I said, you know, they're building the Super Walmart out here. And he's like, where? I said, between my ball and yours.
Jeez, man.
Good line. Everybody use it as if it were your own.
I had to be on my game just to beat him. That was unusual. Usually that was wrapped up by whole 4.
You got me by 2 or 3 strokes, if I remember right.
This guy, he's a player, man.
Well, I'm excited. I got to go see this, DJ.
Okay.
Let's
I
do the
hope I
Santa
can
Barbara
deliver.
Invitational in Utah.
Riverside is calling us.
Yes, it is.
PK.
Pick up the phone.
PK's sliding in a little golf invite. Which country club are you going to get us on?
You want to play at the Riverside? I can get you on Riverside.
Had a kid. All right. We will let you go now. We appreciate it as always, Tim.
Yeah, mission accomplished. I made him laugh.
There you go. Tim LaComb, Jazz Radio Studio Analyst, join us right here on The Zone. DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up next. You missed it. We got it for you. Stay tuned.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G. It's what you want.
Never-ending Story is more compelling than Short Circuit.
No.
Stop it.
No, stop.
Never-ending Story would win a poll against Short Circuit. Guarantee you. I can't even believe I'm putting this poll together. How do you spell circuit?
By the way, I almost hope...
Do what you feel is right, listener.
I almost hope Never-ending Story wins, because if Short Circuit wins, we're going to lose you for the rest of the show. Show memorandum. Let's just euthanize Short Circuit. My guy is as upset as any time I've ever seen him in the history of this show.
Why? Because we speak truth?
No more Short Circuit. Take Johnny 5 and put a crowbar to his head. He's done. Disassemble Johnny 5.
No disassemble!
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
In the hot summer sun? Hey, Lordy, here she comes. Go, glug, sweet tea.
9 a.m. Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley at Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown in Sandy.
You got a sexy tractor?
We see that head bob going.
She ain't a fooling me. She thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on. Oh, staring at me.
One of our bands of the day today, Kenny Chesney. Earlier, briefly, it was Avicii because Yak wanted to be, but PK's going to a concert tonight, so it's now Kenny Chesney. Switched horses mid-concert.
Come see me, man. We'll rock together.
There it is.
Our tractors will be sexy.
America First Field. Now, you go online, you get the playlist, you get the start time. People who are seeing the tour in other places are letting you know how this works. People are creatures of habit, including Kenny Chesney.
Yeah. And then if you want to go to the bathroom or something, well, this song's okay, but I don't want to miss these songs. Boom, you're gone. Come back, and away you go. Yeah. Always do that. Always have the concert set list right there so I can get amped up for the songs that I really like.
Advertised is 8 o'clock tonight? But in reality.
Well, I think the gates open at 5.
Ooh.
Megan Maroney and Uncle Cracker.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw Uncle Cracker, I thought, is that DJ?
Ha-ha.
Megan Maroney's got a cool song out about something like she thinks I'm ugly or something. It's a clever tune. I like it. But I get there a little late for those. I want to watch the All-Star game a little bit tonight.
Home run derby goes to a Dodger. How about that?
Where it belongs.
Finally, after 40 years.
A new Dodger. This is his first year there. Teoscar Hernandez.
Teoscar Hernandez, rent-a-Dodger.
Yeah.
Paul Skeens, Corbin Burns, 6 o'clock first pitch. The Pirates rookie sensation will face the Orioles ace for at least one inning.
Well,
Maybe
I want to
two.
see him pitch for sure.
Bring it.
Yeah, obviously. He's the latest sensation, as you say. He's had 2 no-hitters to go into the 6th inning, and they pulled him. One was in the 7th inning, his last start, I believe, and they pulled him. Kid out of LSU, throws 500 miles an hour.
500 miles an hour.
Yeah, the ump says, well, I think it was a strike.
I heard a strike. What'd you hear?
That's the cool thing about this All-Star game is that you just can't trick it up. You can't half-heart it. Nobody wants to be embarrassed.
I don't want to strike out. I don't want video of me just waving at something.
Yeah, and he's just blowing it by me, or I look foolish, backing away, half swing on a curve, those types of things. So they're going to get in there and they're going to play, and then the starters, they play a few innings, and then a lot of them don't even stay around. They take off.
Get in a private jet and go wherever they go.
Because then they don't resume play till Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember a few years back, Todd Frazier. They asked him, well, what is he going to do now? He said, me and my boy Mike Trout, 2 Jersey boys, we're heading home.
Going down the shore?
Probably. Yeah. Frazier grew up Tom's River, which they've had a really good Little League team.
Mm-hmm.
That's right next to, 5 minutes away from Seaside, where they filmed that stupid show. What's the one with the Guidos?
Jersey Shore.
Yeah, it's just disgusting.
Do yourself a favor. Don't watch it. Don't irritate yourself.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. People playing characters. We talked a lot of basketball this morning. The breaking basketball news is that Joe Jellybean Bryant, Kobe Bryant's father, passed away at the age of 69.
Saw that, yeah.
I was going to add that Kai Roberts from the University of Utah was picked in the 7th round of last night's MLB draft by the San Diego Padres.
That was cool.
Congratulations to him. Anyways.
You'd had a pretty good season.
Yeah.
I saw that Joe Bryant, 69.
Former San Diego Clipper. Utah Jazz Summer League beaten. The Summer League team beaten by the Kings, 82-70. 25, 26 turnovers. There was a boatload of them. But you found a form of encouragement.
Well, get them out early in the Summer League and make your push for the postseason in Vegas. I did. I thought the 3 guys, you're looking for signs. There were signs. I thought Filipowski, I'm not statistically oriented in the Summer League. I'm just looking for stuff. And I think he was a little more aggressive, showed some versatility, wanting to be inside more, had a nice putback off a missed shot, dunk. Give me some level of where you play with confidence. Like, man, I really belong here. I got this thing. This is my spot, and I'm going to be good.
Cody Williams had 14. Filipowski had 13. I thought the moment for Cody that impressed me was that left-handed pass he threw in the air. Didn't see that coming. He's got a little bit of vision, willingness to pass it. I like it.
Okay.
And can they get over the course of a couple years here, can Williams and Hendricks get rolling? Because when they're on the court together, they're so big and they're so long, and it seems like the best teams have that kind of size and athleticism and have guys like that. You want to switch, they can guard whoever.
Well, they're going to have to mesh with Cooper Flagg.
That would be okay.
It's going to happen.
Oh, it is? You can feel it?
I can.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg looks awesome. We don't usually see owners fighting with the league, but James Dolan is furious that the network TV deal, so much money is going to the league, and the regional sports networks aren't as valuable, sitting on Madison Square Garden Network and the Rangers and the Knicks. He didn't just say it. He wrote it. Attack. Attack.
I can't get into that, man. That's not why I got into sports.
Well, you got into sports for the hoops. You ready for Team USA?
Yeah.
Up 24 on Australia, just blowing them out, looking awesome, and then 18 turnovers, and it's a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's a cash grab. It's the game in Abu Dhabi. Take NBA stars over there. They'll pay $1 gazillion for a game. Let them. I don't know what that's going to mean in Paris. Anthony Davis, 17 points, 14 rebounds in 18 minutes. AD had it going.
Oh, man, he's a player.
We had Bob Casper on Real Golf Radio, our draft for the Open Championship. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen. You got your guys? You feeling it now?
I didn't take Fleetwood, and Fleetwood's one guy that I've been thinking, maybe him this time. From over that side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But we sort of pick the same guys. Well, what happens is every year I try to introduce one, and then you guys take them.
Okay.
Yeah. It was Cantlay, it was Hovland, now it's Hebert.
No,
you guys take 'em.
I'm the first one to pick Hebert. You did not pick Hebert. You
Right,
did introduce
because
the
he
other
wasn't available, because you picked him, because I told you about him.
You
I
did
understand. Yes.
No.
I said he was going to be my guy this year.
Yeah.
I said it in January when I saw him play. I know I did. Whether you believe it or not, I don't care.
I was looking something up. I didn't hear you.
Probably. I mean, that's not news.
Yak like that. Yak, you want to give away one more golfer? Who'd you give away last time?
We gave away Max Homa, who is like the social media star of social media stars.
Max Homa.
And what's his face's wife? Hadwin's wife.
Yeah, Hadwin's wife, yeah.
All right, caller 12. We'll find out who the golfer is now. We'll all find out together. Be caller 12 right now at 801-575-ZONE. You'll be assigned a golfer. In this week's Open Championship at Royal Troon, if your golfer wins, you'll win FootJoy rain gear in honor of the Open from our friends at UNA Golf, serving Utah golfers since 1971. Call now at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK brought to you by America First Credit Union. Get the official debit cards of the Utah Jazz, University of Utah Sports, Real Salt Lake, and more exclusively at America First Credit Union. It's time for your feedback. What do you have to say about today's show? Greg, listen to the conversation about BYU. A lot of talent. How do you mold it into a team? We buy you basketball will be one and done in a few ways. Every offensive possession will be one guy gets the ball in his hands and you're done. Greg has his doubts.
Well, I mean, he's letting fandom run into it. He doesn't have any doubts.
I want to see a little more. See here if Greg is a
he's going to call it
Cougar.
Why BYU. Come on.
Yeah. Or KBYU. Yeah, those are the only two options, right?
Yeah.
I know you'll know.
But it's going to be an interesting story. I mean, I haven't been this jacked for a BYU basketball season since Jimmer's senior year. Obviously. I've blocked out the Final Four in case they want me to go.
Who do you think you'll see there with BYU? What are the three Big 12 teams will be? Now that Calipari's gone, it'll be Kentucky because Pope's got him going.
Would you be surprised if somewhere along the line, if BYU were to be good enough, that Kentucky's in the bracket? They love that stuff.
That would not be surprising. How deep? Second round, Sweet 16.
Well, it depends on the quality of the season.
Right. Because when teams say, like, well, see, they say they got those guys to meet in the Elite Eight. Well, okay, you get that deep in the tournament, teams have to start running into each other. But when I see 64-32, and if the teams are good enough, even 16, there was a time when Louisville and Kentucky were really good and they weren't playing and they were to meet in the Sweet 16. Yeah, I didn't think that was an accident.
Well, they like storylines. And storylines drive it, of course.
We all like storylines. They're not alone.
No, not at all. So we'll see how good they are. Well, both teams are for that matter. And we'll follow Kentucky, obviously, to a degree because of Pope. To see what he does there. And he'll have BYU kids on his team. So we'll pay attention to that from a distance.
See how it goes for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a BYU Kentucky second round matchup, we'll all be watching.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Don't mess it up. Everybody get there.
Right. But for now,
yeah,
see what the Cougars can do. This, if Kevin Young pulls this off in his first year, My gosh. You can sign him a lifetime contract. This is unbelievable. Kevin Young's the greatest thing to happen to BYU since Brigham Young. Sorry, Steve.
Well, I assume neither of you saw this last night, but Ion College Basketball is a podcast that Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander do for CBS Sports, and Parrish was quoted as saying he was talking to somebody who does the recruiting, and currently A.J. DeBonsa, who's the top-rated prospect in next year's recruiting cycle, the quote was, BYU is, quote, the team to beat right now.
Kevin Young in the NCAA is the coach to beat. Let's just call it like it is, man. I mean, hello, Lakers.
So somebody's got to get there and develop Bronny. Make that second-round pick. Make the 55th pick in the draft pay off.
If he pulls this off and they finish in the top 2 or 3 in the league and are playing in the second week of the NCAA tournament,
get a top 4 seed and get to the second week, that would be massive. That would live up to the hype then, because the last time they did that was Jimmer, and the last time you were this fired up was Jimmer, and the last time the market was this fired up was Jimmer.
Yeah, and I'm not the only one by any stretch. Yeah. Everybody is. And even if you're a Ute fan or whoever fan, you're going to look at it and see, how is that thing going to come together? You're probably rooting against it. I understand that. But you're still going to be intrigued by it. It's still going to be a story. One way or the other, BYU basketball is going to be a story to the level that they haven't been in 14 years. 15, I guess, 24, 25, because Jimmer was 09, 010. Of course, you don't say 010, you just say 10.
You could say 010. 2010.
Yeah.
It'd be right. A little unorthodox.
Right.
But it'd be right.
Right.
I remember in 2010.
And that was incredible. Jimmer's run his senior year was awesome. Was there in the Mountain West and went to the NCAAs, watched them kick the crap out of the teams they played. They played like Wofford or, I don't remember, Wofford and Gonzaga or something. And then
they definitely beat Gonzaga in the second round.
Yeah.
That I remember.
Right. And then went down to New Orleans. And that was when 2 guys that will go nameless, they had to share a room and who worked for the Watchdog. And I had my own room. And I get up the next morning. Hey, you got any room over there? There's a text. So-and-so kept me up all night with snoring. And then I woke up. Not more than 20 minutes later, I get a phone call from the other guy. Hey, you got any room over there? This guy kept me up all night.
He was snoring.
2 guys with the exact same story accusing the other guy of doing it.
They're probably both telling the truth. Just woke up on alternating schedules.
I guess so.
They were both snoring.
But I mean, it was within 20 minutes of me waking up.
I get why it's hilarious, but I don't know that I doubt either one of them. They were probably both snoring, and at some point they both woke up and heard the other guy snore.
And so what I did, I called down and we ended up with a 2-bedroom where there's a little common area. And I said, yeah, come on over. And it was actually cheaper. So we went that direction.
Problem solver. Look at you go.
Yeah.
The conversation we had a couple days ago is still getting replies right now. You told Kyle Whittingham the Utes 43-42 win over USC might be the best game he's ever attended. Kyle said there's 2 other games that stand out in his memory. And we had, what do you think they are was the question. And the answer is it was BYU 2003 when they got the 3-0 shutout and won the league for the first time in 45 years and broke BYU's scoring streak. And then the other one was beating TCU 13-10 when TCU was really good. They were a top 10 team and really coulda, woulda, shoulda won the game. Missed some field goals, made some blunders, didn't get it done, and the Utes won it right at the end and went to the Sugar Bowl. But the responses from Ute fans keep coming in, and Bobby here, as the great Dr. Venkman once asked, is this a trick question? Sugar Bowl.
He didn't say it.
He didn't. But every fan's got their own opinion.
I was sitting right next to him. I was moderating the thing. I did tell the audience that Kyle has the best winning percentage ever against Nick Saban.
I got to laugh.
Yeah. Well, I did go 1-0, so yeah. That's his choice of games. Because I brought it up. I brought up the SC game last year. And and it was funny. You know what he said? And we didn't get into it, but he said, I said, it's been my experience that coaches take losses way harder than they celebrate wins. He said, yeah, it takes about 5 wins to get over a loss in terms of the ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that from virtually every coach tells me that. So that I know that's the way they feel. And I brought up how last year I was talking to him like a day or two after the bowl game, and he was down about it. And I said, you didn't have your team. It's a bowl game. Nobody cares.
What do you say?
And I said, the most important thing about that season is that you beat the pretty boy down at USC. I said, that's what matters the most.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. And he kind of.
We both know you fans. We both know you fans who were very, very happy when that game ended.
Yeah, don't you think of Lincoln Riley as a pretty boy?
Yes.
Yeah. Kyle can't say it, but I can.
Yeah.
So I said, no, everybody understood that. What are you worried about? You lost a bowl game, which you didn't have a team.
Trevor says, I was at that 3-0 game, and that was my least favorite Utah game I've ever attended. Defense is great and all, but only one field goal to cheer for during a sub-zero blizzard was awful. And Wes says, I was there as well. It was an absolutely miserable game.
I thought it was.
Ute fans who were winning their first conference title in 45 years, but the conditions were terrible. The field was frozen.
But you have to remember that BYU hadn't been shut out since like 1975.
It was, yeah.
And that meant something to a D coordinator.
It did.
Was a year away from getting the head coaching job.
Little did we know.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of had an idea. We were completely blindsided by that.
Well,
we didn't know how it was all going to play out. We didn't know all 3 jobs in state were going to open at once.
I did tell him in October you're going to get the
by
BYU
October,
job.
right? Yeah.
But I didn't know Urban was going to leave.
Right. Well, we knew he was going to leave sooner or not later, but we didn't definitively know.
But I knew Croton was gone.
Yeah.
I was told that.
Gone.
Literally, factually told that. And I told Kyle, you're going to get that. They're going to offer you the job. I knew it.
And they did.
I told him. We were on a field at Butler Junior High School in Cottonwood Heights, Utah, when I told him that.
DJ PK, we're out of time. Jake and Ben are coming up next. Stay with us.